got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller.
Yeah.
Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha.
Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Inching towards the home stretch of the regular season, the campaign takes on wine country and the first road course race of the year. We're live from the virtual Sonoma Raceway. We are so glad to welcome you to coverage of the 8th race in the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series campaign. We send you the warmest welcome from one of the hottest locations on the schedule, and we're live on VSPEED tonight, where alongside producer/colleague in the booth, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Bradley, for so long in this 2024 schedule, we have talked oval, but we have never brought in the component of road course racing, the first time that the season and the drivers will be taking on this kind of event. This time, Sonoma making its return after a season of absence.
Yeah, this is going to be a completely different ball game for a lot of these drivers. You've seen the dominant races that, you know, guys like Austin Reedy and Chris Shoemaker. Shoemaker having a great week last week. There was a few guys that were up front there last week that just, you know, normally do well at mile-and-a-half racetracks. Zach Wilson, Justin Erb, Mario Mirinda. But here tonight, you're going to see two drivers based off statistics that are just a little bit above everyone else. And this is because they do road courses top tier. This is going to be racing for third place, I think, tonight, as long as these guys don't make a mistake.
And just when you thought that the drivers were getting used to the idea of mile-and-a-half racing over the last several events, the road course tonight at Sonoma Raceway. We'll take a look at the schedule just before we dive into some of our other details on the pre-race show tonight before we drop the green flag. This is where we are in the 2024 Season 7 schedule. We are already in mid-June, race number 8 at Sonoma. We are only several races away, Bradley, from the end of the regular season at Daytona before we step right into playoff territory beginning with Atlanta. But this is only one of two road course events that we'll see in the schedule, so you could make the plentiful argument that maybe road courses don't matter that much in this year's schedule, but it definitely does when you factor in that if you want to be one of those championship drivers, you have to face Watkins Glen later on in the season in late September. So this one might be very important to get these guys a little bit of reps and a bit of teaching before they can try to make a run at a championship.
It's absolutely important. I mean, guys that kind of have that mentality, those are the ones that really struggle or don't like to come here. But if you finish dead last, you're going to notice that come week 13, right before the cutoff, and you'll be struggling to recover for the remainder of this season. So this is absolutely one of those races where if you come in here and you know that you don't favor this racetrack, try to mitigate the damage, get a top 10, do the best you can, and try not to DNF, because those are the ones that hurt the most when you don't finish.
And after the longest race of the season 2 weeks ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway, boy, there was damage done and rewards reaped off of from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And look at the standings quickly before we get to the rest of the details in our broadcast tonight. This is where it stands. Austin Reedy with his monumental comeback after facing damage at Charlotte, being able to pick things up. Still top of the board in standings, but things, Bradley, have certainly shaked up right behind him. No more is Eddie Smith in second place. He has dropped all the way to 7th after a 36th place finish at Charlotte. We'll dive into that in just a little bit, but how everything has moved around. Lawson Peel moving up to 5th, Mario Miranda sliding up to 2nd. It is definitely a change completely, and I'm assuming after tonight at Sonoma, we might see the same go down.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me of all of this is Austin Reedy is still winless this season, but he's remained the points leader for a few weeks now. Miranda's starting to tackle the season with a better approach and more consistency, so that's why you're seeing him inch his way, but it's still over a 40-point deficit, and Reedy's been kind of flying under the radar. So if he can kind of accomplish that top 5 here again tonight and just do his thing, run his own race, I look to see him be very successful come week 13. He should have a pretty sizable lead. However, when you go into a playoff format, as we do here at Sunoco Cup Series, those wins are oh so important during that reset. And some of these guys that'll have multiple wins, which, you know, you mentioned during the pre-race that we could see our first multi-time winner this race. That's where you get that big jump, and it's difficult for guys. If you don't get a win, Reedy needs to add that to kind of solidify that lead.
You're right. He's one of the several drivers that hasn't been able to pick up a win, but the good news over this schedule is that there have been 7 different races and 7 different winners. We have not had a driver go to victory lane more than once. Of course, that could change tonight based on some of our projections, but nonetheless, there is still a viable chance that we could have a brand new driver take to victory lane for the first time in 2024. Let's take a view in the rear view mirror and get a look at what happened 2 weeks ago in the longest race of the year at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It began on the front row with Jesse Whittington capturing his first pole of the season. Mario Miranda, Lawson Peel, 2 of the titans in the series, starting from deep in the field. And then Eddie Smith, the rookie phenom, finding some bad luck. A tag alongside by Joe Sanchez. They both would recover, or rather, Sanchez would recover. Then 3 wide action, Stempian through the middle, getting bobbled around and hard into the outside wall. This was the incident that involved that 96 car of Austin Reedy, the onboard look. Stage 1 goes to Lawson Peel in that sense. Great fight with Isaac Mock near the end of that one. And then fireworks showed up in stage 2. The bumper to the back of the 12. The 99 car of Miranda sending his way through 3 and 4. He would capture stage number 2. That, in essence, would be his 4th stage win of 2024. Stage 3 went to Lawson Peel, and phenomenal racing through the front of the field. Sanchez, Austin Reedy, Ross Harlow, Miranda, and Peel, the entire cast until green flag pit stops where Peel made the interesting call to take 2 tires, led all the way to what was his first victory of the season in the Sunoco Cup Series, his 19th all-time, and he becomes the 5th different winner at Charlotte since Season 3. So Bradley, what a phenomenal job by Lawson Peel, and in a way, we almost expected Lawson to go to victory lane instantaneously in 2024, and it didn't happen. We were surprised at all of the bad luck he had encountered, but finally got the monkey off his back, getting his first win 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the longest race of the season. It also had kind of a bonus there with that extra stage that we only have 2 stages in all the other races. So 600 miles for him to be able to get it done. That's a race where anything can go wrong. You saw there with Eddie Smith where he gets taken out, so now loses that sizable. He had actually taken the points lead or was tied with the lead there for a moment. And so there's a lot to unpack there from Charlotte, but the main thing that we take away is we had a new winner and we had some guys that are turning their season around. And Lawson Peel on the right track, Mario Miranda also on the right track. We're going to see those 2 tonight. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, I think, as we get to our trends of the race.
It looks like it was a return to form for both Lawson and Mario, and you saw some of the most dominant drivers in the series working their way up through the longest race of the season. I think that was so unique to see everyone move around through all of the strategy, and we'll get into the Sunoco race trends where over the last several road course races and every road course event in the next-gen era, Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda have won them all. There hasn't been a single driver outside of those 2 that has taken a victory in the road course in the next-gen era since Season 4. Those 2 have been absolutely electric on all ends of the spectrum when it comes to road course racing. And you don't see a name like Austin Reedy, although he's always been third or fourth fiddle. It's all been about Lawson and Mario. I'm sure that storyline will continue plentifully tonight, Bradley.
Well, I just got here, Kenneth, so for me to see that, it doesn't surprise me, though, because these guys have always kind of been class of the field at other racetracks, and you always have those one or two guys at road courses in every league that you come to that just are a little bit faster than everyone else, and it seems like you're just chasing them down. You can go through practice, you can put a lot of time in, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to they've just experienced it for so long. With the updates to the cars and the way this track is handling, though, I know Watkins Glen has had a recent change to the configuration, and I think the rumble strips are a little bit higher now, or you can actually feel them differently. So, we don't have that here tonight. This will be a little bit more familiar, but I look forward to the other road course in the schedule where we might see some guys change up their lines and have to do it a little bit differently.
And speaking of the track, this is only the third Sonoma race that Sunoco and the Cup Series has hosted since Season 3. Sonoma hosted a race back in Season 3 and in Season 4, the first campaign utilizing the next-gen cars, but not often have we seen this track in Napa Valley, California, really host a lot of Sunoco Cup Series races specifically over the last two campaigns, so it's sort of a long-lost track that we've had on the schedule finally making its return, and it's going to be a phenomenal one. Very hot track temperature, a lot of elevation change, and so much more in between. We're excited that Sonoma is back on the schedule this time for Season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Let's take you trackside and give you tonight's starting grid for the 90-lap feature we will have here in California, where on the front row are the two drivers that have been undefeated on the road courses since the next-gen era. Lawson Peel with a 1:15.778 lines his Chevrolet on the pole, looking for win number 2 of the campaign, and so is Mario Miranda on the outside of the front row. They both will lead us to the green flag drop. Steven Stempy, in a wonderful qualifying effort in the 88 car, looks to bounce back after a crash he faced at Charlotte 2 weeks ago. He rounds out the top 3 with Austin Reedy, always fast on these road courses. Might be a threat to be reckoned with tonight. He's on the outside of row number 2. Two-time career Sunoco Cup winner Colin Forrester looks to make it win number 1 on a road course. He starts inside the top 5. Joe Sanchez in the 55 on his outside in position number 6. Wyatt Brackett in the 30 car for Fast Banana Racing will roll off from 7th, and a fellow Fast Banana teammate on his outside, Curtis Kelly, in the 71. Alex Muscarella in the 48 drops to the green flag from 9th place, and rounding out the top 10, the 20 Chevrolet Camaro of Justin Erb.
Well, the position, is going to go to Ross Harlow in the number 3 with Shane Wyatt in the 27 and 12. 13th spot goes to Austin Shoemaker. Zach Wilson, winner at Texas, is going to start in 14th. 15th, Chris Shoemaker with Brandon Banks. Pretty stellar race there by Banks last week, if I remember correctly, up front a lot of the day. Richard Swavely is going to start in 17th with Justin Winters in 18th. And rounding out your top 20, Chris Progar in the 7, Eddie Smith looking to come back in 20th.
21st, you'll find the rookie Alex Huffman in his first road course race in his Sunoco Cup Series career. He's joined alongside by the Season 1 champ, Garrett Brown, on the outside in 22nd. 23rd, you'll find Sean Kalis in his SK Sim Racing Chevrolet. Brad Fulham to be along him in 24th place. Dakota Curtis, the league owner in the 43, starts inside the top 25, and then the list of drivers that did not take a time in qualifying, it starts with the 23 of Ray Rogers. Rookie Jonathan Cofield in 27th. Bill Schoonover to run to the green flag tonight in 28th. Rolling off 29th and 30th, you'll find Casey Knighton in the 28. And Chuck Phelps rounding out our 30-car field from Sonoma. Quite a shorter field than what we are usually expecting in this series, but Bradley, I'd imagine it's just because it's a road course race. It's one of those races that is usually harder to handle. Let's get a look at the race analysis before we drop the green flag from Sonoma and Wine Country. We go 90 laps from the road course, just shy of 180 miles, about 288.27 kilometers. Stages are spread across by 30 laps each. We'll drop the yellow for stage 1 at lap 30, then stage 2 at lap 60. Then we'll run the rest of the race under green if we can That'll be up to lap number 90. Drivers have 4 tire sets available, and of course, just like every other race, we have 3 green-white checkered attempts to extend this race if necessary. 5th career pole for Lawson Peel. He will lead this to the green flag and trying to get his 2nd straight win in the Sunoco Cup Series at a road course after taking Watkins Glen late last season. Peel and Miranda bring us to the return of Sonoma Raceway. We are green flag racing for the first road course event of the season. First several corners and through turns 3 and 4. And Mario Miranda up the hill being able to take the lead side by side into the hard braking zone. They go through the S's for the first time, and the 99 Miranda taking control early before the drop of lap 1.
Yeah, he made quick work there of Lawson Peel. A little mistake up the hill, and he got to the inside. And, you know, Peel's going to be kind of playing that cat and mouse game, maybe not going to push the issue this early. 90 laps here. We're talking about 180 miles at this racetrack, so plenty of time for Peel to get back up there as you go through the hairpin. This is one of the very few overtake spots that you can kind of set yourself up and premeditate a pass, but the rest of this racetrack, you're kind of waiting for a guy to overshoot the entry or make a mistake at the very least.
For the moment, Miranda being able to hold on. Lawson Peel hanging right with him. They have pulled away slightly from Austin Reedy, who was able to snag away 3rd at the run up to the turns 1 and 2. Now up to 3 and 3A. Moving up to 4A, that right-hander that takes you all the way to the hard braking zone in turn 7A. Steven Stempian falling back to 4th place. Battle side by side further behind them. That's Eddie Smith in the 87, entering the top 20, looking to get around Justin Winters. Bangs door with him going up the hill. That is turns 3 and 3A now to 4A. And Eddie Smith, of course, trying to recover after a 36th place finish at Charlotte, and goes for the slide at the exit of 4A, but he hangs on to it.
Got up on the curb. You have to be careful, especially in these cars. The underpinning and that body, it almost becomes like a skateboard when you get too high up on that curve, sends him around. Good recovery there for the 87, but all that work, he had gained a couple positions, now back to 21st.
One thing you cannot do with these next-gen cars is abuse the curbs. Of course, there are certain parts of this Sonoma Raceway to where you can attack the flatter parts of the curbing, but for the most part, specifically in turn 4A, that's where the curb rises really high, and as soon as you get on that curb, the car oscillates insanely off the corner, and it's a very bumpy exit naturally on the asphalt, so you might find yourself going for a slide, much like Eddie Smith did, and just battling nearby the Allen's Legacy Racing teammates of Alex Huffman and Justin Winters. It appears the 22 car, though, fell back. He drops to 22nd, and Jonathan Cofield, who started this race in 27th, up 6 since the drop of the green flag. Early start for Cofield, working well as of the moment. But this is one of those races, Bradley, where we will see the field spread out thinly, because this is one of the harder tracks to drive in. When you've got a track temperature that reaches about 115 like it is right now at Sonoma, and you bring in the fact that these cars are really loose with the limited diffuser on the underbody of the race car, it becomes quite a hassle to drive when you look on board here with Miranda.
Yeah, it's very much a hassle, and it's very easy to overdrive your stuff early in the race. You feel like Superman on these fresh tires, and once the heat gets built up, this car will handle almost like a Formula car at times, where it'll kind of dive into the corner early and you don't have to brake as early. But as this run progresses, that heat, especially on this racetrack, is going to make it slippery. You're going to find yourself counter-steering a lot on these exits, trying to get that power to hook up. Here's Austin Reedy in the 3rd position, trying to chase down. He's hanging pace pretty well with the front two. Of course, you had Steve Stempian, who started ahead of Reedy, falls back to 4th. But right now, the top 4 kind of pulling away from the 31 of Forrester.
And Austin Reedy in familiar territory as he rises up the hill. 3rd place is his average finish in the last 5 Sunoco Cup Series road course races, and that includes Watkins Glen not that long ago, where he went side by side with Ross Harlow, fighting for top 3 position at the end of that race, but Reedy has always been known over the last several road course events to finish in 3rd, just because these two always take up the top 2 spots in the running order. Miranda and Peel, whether it be one in front of the other or which way be, that 96 car always hangs by in 3rd. Hopefully tonight it might be a big difference. Right on board with Miranda through the S's, bouncing along the curves is Lawson Peel, but he is approaching the run down to turn 11 to the hairpin. Peel on the brakes early, trying to get under the 99, and he locks up. Peel down low. We are door to door for the race lead at lap 4.
Picking up right where they left off at Charlotte. In that long race, those two saw each other for the entirety of that stage 1, stage 2. Kind of went back and forth between the two of them. Here, it's going to be a matter of, if you make that mistake again in the hairpin, Lawson Peel's going to find a way, and you don't want to give him away around that car. You gotta keep it dialed back a little bit. Patience is what I'm seeing in the chat. And all these guys right now, early in this run, 5 laps in, you have to be patient.
You really do, and there are just specific locations at Sonoma to where you can make a fruitful pass, and one of the locations is down here, turn 4A. That's where Peel's going to try again, looking under the race leader of Miranda. They bang doors once, they touch twice. Miranda will win this fight down to the S's, but the patience already running thin from the 2-time Sunoco Cup champ. Lawson Peel wants to snag away the lead, but has not been able to do it. He wiggles loose down the S's. Can he make the run to turn 11 once again?
He's going to have to be careful because Austin Reedy is also kind of that shark in the water back there, and if these two get into each other too much or create a big situation, as you see the 96 right up on the bumper there in turn 11, that's the spot where if they hit each other, maybe move each other up, Reedy could definitely take away and benefit the most.
Well, so far, Reedy is just sitting back and watching the movie that's unpacking right in front of him. He got real close at the exit of turns 10 and 11, but so far has not been able to recoup all the time gained by the time they ran up the hill through turns 1 and 2. Here's a look at Alex Muscarella filing back in the top 10 or so. Currently running in 11th, actually just outside of the top 10. Started back in 9th and has dropped 2 spots since we dropped the green flag. I know it's really early in this race, but Muscarella just trying to get into his rhythm. And that is one thing that is paramount at these road courses. Bradley is settling into a rhythm. At the ovals, sure, you can add the muscle memory in the rhythm, but at some point, you know, the rhythm doesn't really matter as much versus tire saving and then strategy if you're talking about long green flag runs. But when you discuss road course racing with all of the elevation change, all of the different types of corners you have to encounter, while trying to remain as fast as ever, you have to make sure that the rhythm steps in first and foremost, or else you find yourself into a mistake, and at tracks like these, you can end up in the grass or in the wall. Looking on the inside is Peel again at the entry of turn 11. No avail this time for the 12, and Miranda will hang on, but this fight for the lead is feisty running up the hill.
Yeah, 174 feet is about how much you're going to climb here from top to bottom of this racetrack, and the elevation, you don't get that in an oval. You get elevation kind of on the lateral, but you don't get the straightforward climb over crests. And you know, maybe the exit of Charlotte's pit road is about the only time these guys have really encountered that. And now they're hitting curbs, they're hitting bumps, they're going over crests, they're going through left and right hand transitions, all while in traffic, setting up brake points, shifting these cars. 5 gears, of course, that was a big change in the next gen. I can't even imagine adding another gear to that. I already had enough problems with rhythm, and now they're going to add on another, you know, probably additional mistake. That's where I can't quite get the road course part of the stock car realm.
It's really tough, and it's very different from the other actual road course racing cars that you can bring to tracks like Sonoma, whether it's a Formula cars, whether it's IndyCar, or whether it's anything else that actually runs road courses. Even the Australian supercars, very different from the next-gen cars, although they took a bit of inspiration from those down under. You know, NASCAR stock car road course racing is very much an art in a sense. You have to find a way to dominate that sector in a way that you would differently from the likes of Formula racing or different types of road course racing like GT or prototype racing that you can find at tracks like these. So it's fun to see these drivers whip around these, 3,400 pound stock cars up through the hills, and at a track like Sonoma where it does get rather bumpy. Battle for 6th place on the way. Curtis Kelly in the 71 making his return to the series. He did run at Charlotte 2 weeks ago, ended up with a top 15 run, sitting in between Alex Muscarella and Chris Pogar in the 7. Curtis Kelly trying to get a better run tonight from Sonoma, seems to be the case early on, and trying to trail that 55 of Sanchez, who had some exciting news over the last several weeks. Bradley, he got engaged. A big congratulations to Joe Sanchez. We await the wedding, and a big time happy moment for Joe Sanchez. We're so happy for him, and glad that he could join us tonight on another Sunday evening in the Sunoco Cup Series. So off the track news, big time for Sanchez. Another big congratulations to him.
We know what's coming next. We're going to be saying Happy Father's Day to this guy, right? That has to be it, right?
Well, I don't know. It is Father's Day, though, and happy Father's Day to those watching on youtube.com/VSPEED. But great news for Joe Sanchez, the one-time winner this season at Bristol Motor.
I think we have that part back. So now let's see if we can get our headset audio back here and get the sound from these cars. That is still a little bit broken here, so we're going to take a short commercial break. I apologize to everybody here from Sunoco, but we're having a technical issue with some sound. We have audio for a minute, and then we just completely cut out. So we'll be back here on VSPEED right after this.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah.
Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
All right, so we're trying to still get this sorted out a little bit. It would appear that we do have audio again. We have some things to unpack, though, while we were at commercial break. A lot of fireworks and somebody probably not very happy. Let's take it back on the instant replay.
We'll talk about the entry to turn 4A, a place where Peel was trying to get under the race leader of Mario Miranda. Well, it looks like push came to shove at the entry of the corner. This is getting around lap car Sean Kalis, who goes underneath at the exit of turns 1 and 2, then to 3 and 3A. They bang doors to 4A, pushing Peel wide and through the curbing, and Peel got revenge in turn 4A. Dive to the inside. They make the contact, and he wanted nothing of Miranda, who said, all right, over the radio, Miranda has dropped to 4th, and in the entire situation, Austin Reedy, who was sitting back in 3rd, has taken away the race lead. Peel wanting to get under in turn 4A with Stepien right behind your top 3 under a blanket, and here comes Peel again.
Of course, Miranda back in 4th there. He will be back. I'm pretty sure on that. But we're not even halfway through this race, and we're already seeing these guys. Their tempers have flared up, and Reedy's going to get some laps led. You know, here at this stage at lap 30, this could really benefit him if he can stay in front of this 12 car.
Lap led number 1 of the night for Austin Reedy and counting, but the question is, how long will it take before Lawson Peel can either get to the inside or outside to take away the race lead, but still pressure behind from the fellow Chevrolet. The drop into hammer car of Steven Stepien, who whipped loose at the exit of turn 11. Will have to try and regain all that time lost. But yeah, there were certainly tempers there, Bradley, between the two of them, and we know that in Sunoco Cup Series history, as long as they've been around, they have always found each other on the racetrack, just courtesy of how fast they've always been. It just seemed that Lawson Peel reached a boiling point, and certainly the straw that broke on the camel's back. There, he wanted nothing to do with Miranda staying in front and keeping him at bay. Lawson Peel just had all of the door banging and said, all right, I'll just turn you in turn 4A, and wanted nothing else to do with the situation. And in turn, Miranda, the Oklahoma driver, has fallen back to 4th, trying to regain everything that he lost with a bit of rear-end damage.
The last time by, he lost about half a second, but let's see what he gets on this time, on this lap. This car, just minor damage on the back end. I don't think it's going to interfere with him too much. However, it is a pretty sizable gap of over 3 seconds to catch up to Steve Stepien, and he's still going to pass a couple cars here before he gets back to the lead. So there's a couple scenarios here where he could overdrive and maybe burn his stuff up prematurely. We do have 15 laps left here before stage number 1 is over, and so Miranda might just have to rely on that to catch back up.
Well, we do also know, Bradley, that the tire model for next-gen road course racing isn't as harsh on the driver as it is on the oval side. With the road course tires, they don't wear as much as they would on the oval. So you could see pit stops to where drivers just only take fuel and they don't take tires, because if they get fresh rubber, it doesn't necessarily mean a faster race car with more grip. It just means you have new tires on the car, but it doesn't do that much. We've seen often in official sessions and even other league races here on iRacing at Sonoma and other road courses across the calendar that the next-gen cars just don't have a big tire fall-off at these types of tracks. So you will see quicker pit stops. It will be because these guys are getting splashes of fuel and they know better not to take tires because it'll only waste time on pit road and through the pit lane. So we'll keep an eye on that just as soon as we get to the cross of lap 30 and the end of stage 1. But the focus back to the top 2 leaders. Lawson Peel peeking his Chevrolet nose underneath the fast banana number 96. This time it can be successful, and for the first time tonight, Lawson Peel gets to the race lead from Sonoma.
They battle there in the hairpin, but again, that goes back to, that's one of the places you're almost guaranteed you can set up a pass. If you get a good run out of the S's, you can peek to the inside. Steve Stempien now hunting for the second spot. But this top 3 right on top of each other. Peel, he's not out of the woods yet. Yeah, he got that pass completed, but Reedy now going to set up his braking zones based off of where that 12 car might have a weakness, and you'll see Reedy kind of tag the bumper or maybe move him out of the way before this stage. It'd be interesting to see if he gets ruffled up anymore by another car.
Well, it's all about it, whether he can catch up to Peel in the first place. And this is the first time that Peel, the Columbus, Mississippi native, is in clean air. He's always been behind Mario Miranda since the drop of the green. That frustration probably relieving itself a little bit here, but certainly reached an all-time high when he was stuck behind that 99 car. And talk about, Bradley, how frustrating it is as a driver to be the faster car, but just not being able to find the place nor the momentum to get underneath or to the outside and make a completed pass.
Oh, it's very frustrating, especially if you catch a guy from far back. Like, you've had instances, we all have, where you're out there 7-8 seconds back and you catch up to the 3rd or 4th position driver and he just doesn't let you by. We saw that a little bit at Charlotte, where guys were catching each other late in the run because they had saved their stuff and guys were defending the position, which, you know, that's their right. But as the guy behind him, you just got to weigh the options. Is it worth pushing this guy out of the way? Is he going to get back to me later on in this race? I think right now, that's kind of what's going through Lawson Peel's mind, because Mario Miranda will be back there. Clean air for the 12. It's going to help him tremendously. You can see on the lap times, he's turning some of the best ones he has all race long. Last time by a minute 15.842. That's approaching qualifying times.
It is, but not faster than Miranda's 1:15.7, and we know that Miranda is really, his deficit, his Achilles heel right now is distance. He is still trying to pick up on 3rd place Austin Reedy and what is left of the 2nd place battle that ultimately was won by Steven Stempien. You look at the top 2 drivers in Peel and Steven. Both of them took away stage wins the last time the Sunoco Cup Series visited Sonoma Raceway, so they have a lot of success working in tandem, and were former teammates at Drinkin' Bros Racing as well. So they round out the top 2. Stempien looking for what would be his 2nd stage win of the season. Peel searching for his 4th of the 2024 season. So we'll keep an eye on the top 4 as we continue to work around. Battle for 12th on the way. Rookie driver Shane White looking to hold on against Texas winner this season, Zach Wilson. Both of them have been nose to tail for just several laps and looking to get around each other. Wilson on the slight upswing after starting in 14th. And Shane Wyatt basically the same place where he started back in 12th. A nice run for Shane Wyatt so far in that SimWrap market number 27. And he's one of those drivers, Bradley, that always pulls out the banger graphics on social media several hours before race time.
On board with him here as they climb the hill. And yes, that is a very good looking car. And one of the distinctive cars that you can probably pick out of an entire group, especially when we go to these super speedways. That's what you want in a guy, especially if you're rooting for him, is to be able to know as he goes off the racetrack a little bit there. Got to be careful with that. A couple other drivers making mistakes on the crest of the hill there, but that's going to open up the door for the 51 as they go into turn 7.
And while Shane Wyatt finished 18th in Charlotte 2 weeks ago, it was not really reflective of just how strong he was at the start of that race. Really fast Camaro at the opening segment of the event, and unfortunately couldn't get the finish that really replicated what his success was like at the start of that one. But so far, the rookie driver has 3 top 10s. His best finish 4th several weeks ago at Kansas back in early May. Shane Wyatt looking to capture a top 15 run tonight at the road course, although he almost got sent in turn 4A by Austin Shoemaker behind in that white Mobil 1 Ford Mustang. So got to be a little careful around this sector of the racetrack, because we've got a lot of drivers in the top 15 and in the mid-pack, Bradley, building up. And it's so fun to watch, because I think every single race we talk about this exact situation. Everyone in the mid-pack, they fight so closely together and they fight so merciless. It becomes amazing to watch over the lap. And here's Jonathan Cofield, who moves up to 15th, getting around lap car Bill Schoonover. Cofield on a big-time run from the drop of the green. He's up 12.
A lot of cars to pass here at Sonoma. This is one of those racetracks where you don't pick apart a field in just a handful of laps. You have to really plan accordingly to your surroundings, because every single one of these turns is going to be a different outcome. It's going to be a different scenario. You have to be patient. There's some side-by-side for the 6th spot as the 71 of Curtis Kelly gets around Joe Sanchez. But back here to Cofield again. He's got 3 cars in front of him right here. Now, if you went to Charlotte, Texas, Vegas, you could probably pick off 2 of these guys a lap. Here, you might get 1 every 5 laps. You really have to be careful.
You have to also pray that they make mistakes, but you also have to pray in the same sense that the mistakes don't catch you. They don't get into you when they're sliding all over the place. Jonathan Cofield tippy-toeing through that part of the racetrack going up the hill. That's one of the harder sectors of the racetrack to also pass as well. You don't really want to go side by side through those corners, because one driver will either go off track or you'll just be so slow off the exits that it really will reel in everyone behind. And speaking of Mario, who's been trying to reel in the traffic ahead, he finally gets around Austin Reedy, takes away that other Camry spot, and looking for the Camaro up ahead. On board look with Steven Stempian back in 2nd. Meanwhile, this Chevrolet has fallen back at least 4 seconds from your race leader, Lawson Peel, who is just now crossing the start-finish line.
22 laps underway. After 21 completed, Lawson Peel has pulled out. Like you said, 4 seconds here, and that clean air has been super beneficial to the 12 machine. Last time by the Miranda matching lap times. They are on for 2nd. The 88's around here up the hill.
And he got tagged by Reedy at the entry of turn 2. That was under the bridge. Going up the hill, that right-hander can get you all out of whack, and they made the slight contact. Around goes Stempian, and there goes all that track position with it. Look with what happened. Miranda down low. Reedy just sent it through the corner, not expecting Stempian to be parking at center. Unfortunately, they make the contact, and Stempian goes for the spin.
They kind of set that up that Miranda got to the inside. I think Reedy was trying to follow, but didn't brake enough to stay to the inside and hug that curb. Unfortunate for Stempian, though, because he gets the worst end of this.
So tough there for Stempy, who drops back to 8th. And after starting in 3rd, well, he's going to pray for the yellow flag to come out soon. It will in about 8 laps' time. That'll be our conclusion of stage 1 from Sonoma. But Stempy in no man's land, trying to get around as he enters turn 11 this time through. So now, here comes the top 2, flailing towards the start-finish line and up the hill. Miranda has 4.8 seconds to gain in the span of 7 laps. Do you think he can be able to do it?
Based off these lap times, I don't know. Lawson Peel, last time by, almost a full second faster. I think you saw in that relative that Miranda had found his way back to 2nd. I think if he does get to him, what do you think is going to happen? Because they weren't getting along very well the last time they touched doors, and 7 laps is a long time, and got some lap traffic here that could mix things up. It is possible, but based off of the laps right now in the clean air, it's going to be difficult.
Well, hey, if there's any answer that I'll give to that question that you just proposed, as we continue to watch Miranda running in 2nd place, I'm going to quote Miranda himself in the iRacing lobby chat. He said, in all caps, Chrome horn. That's what's going to happen as soon as Miranda catches up to Peel. Now, of course, there's still time left in stage 1 to be able to do so, but if he's not able to catch up to Peel, good news is they'll probably all hit pit road for a splash of gas. They might be running for the race lead out of the pit lane, and we'll get to the restart together. So we'll probably see them get a little more contact between each other before this race is all said and done. It's 5.2 seconds. Peel the control car at the moment. We had some fireworks for 4th all the way through 6th place, a trio of Fast Banana Toyota Camrys. Curtis Kelly working his way to a race high 4th, Colin Forrester dropping to 5th, and almost had a bit of side-by-side action with his fellow teammate in Wyatt Brackett. Good to see Fast Banana locking up spots inside the top 6, make that all 4 of the Fast Banana Camrys inside the top 10.
Trigger time in the chat. Shout out to Eddie Smith, all the dads watching. Happy Father's Day. Currently, Eddie Smith is sitting back in the 17th position, so we'll get some quick camera time here for the Tide Ford Mustang. Started back in 20th. He's gained 3 spots. A little bit of a quiet day. Eddie Smith, of course, we talked about in the pre-race, had some problems at Charlotte. He had a fast car. He was up front for a lot of the start of that first stage, but problems early. Ends up DNFing. He ripped the whole front end off that Ford Mustang, and he's been in recovery mode for this race. It's kind of, you know, he's not done on the season, but that did put a big damper on what he had going on as a rookie.
Yeah, it was really tough. Going into Charlotte, he had an average finish of 3.6. It was the best out of any driver in the series thus far, but all of a sudden with that 36th place run, which in the moment was a situation that was out of his control, right? Running on the inside, minding his own business. All of a sudden, they tango up high. Joe Sanchez comes swashing down low, and all of a sudden you have Eddie Smith going hard into the inside wall in that large incident that basically took him out of the race. So it wasn't really something that Smith could control at the time. Trying to get his road course bearings together, and you mentioned that average finish. It dropped all the way to 9th just because of that one race, as he tries to decide himself amongst the heap of lap cars and grouping drivers. Look at this. Send to the inside. Ross Harlow looking underneath. That's for 9th place on Justin Erb. Well, this one's not over yet.
He went 3 wide there with, I believe that was the 22 machine of Justin Winters. No, that's actually the 23 of Ray Rogers. And yeah, that was a moment there in turn 6. Brave. I don't know, that overshot there. It is wide enough that you can do that, but you're going to hop a curve pretty hard to get back on the transition and not spin this thing out. So, well, he's either sideways there in turn 10 through the S's.
Well, hey, that one corner, turn 4A, is probably the signature place to go sideways here at Sonoma. You go up the hill. As soon as that car gets a bit of oscillation on it, you also find some elevation on the curbing from the outside part of the corner, and you'll see drivers use the asphalt to look at the dive from Harlow. You don't see it now, but you'll see it soon. Harlow looking underneath. Casey Knighton in the 28, who currently runs 2030, just went a lap down, and this could have been catastrophic at the entry of turn 1.
Yes, it could have been. That break there on the 3... Whoever did the engineering work for those brake calipers needs a raise, because that car very easily could have locked up, and that car control to not put himself into the back end of that Dr. Pepper Camaro. Heads up move there by both of them, though. He was able to get around and get up the hill. Harlow is, he's been on a tear, though. He has been very quick to get around lap traffic. He's not patient with that at all. He's just going one after another.
It's sort of what you have to do if you don't want to lose time, and because he's about 4 seconds behind the next car in line, Steven Stempian, still plentiful in terms of work he needs to accomplish in order to get there. And of course, Harlow and Steven Stempian, both of the teammates at Dropping the Hammer Racing. Harlow, much like Austin Reedy, in a similar boat. They both usually finish inside the top 5 or top 3 at these road course races, just because they usually are the most talented when it comes to this discipline of racing. Harlow with a bit of a different look this time tonight. If they're starting 11th, he's only worked his way up to 9th, so not the way that we usually see Ross Harlow attack these road course races, but you know, there's still some stages left to decide, so we know Harlow can work his way up through strategy, which in that sector, we've really had nobody come down pit road, and for good reason. We're only 3 laps away from the conclusion of stage 1, and it may just look like the 4th stage win for this man right here, Lawson Peel, who last time we were here in Season 5 led 50 of the 75 laps that we ran. And actually, here it is, a short stop at lap number 27. He's in, so is Mario Miranda. We look forward to Austin Reedy potentially going in. He will stay out, and the leader's in this time by.
This is interesting, and again, it goes back to the shark analogy that I had earlier. Thought maybe Peel was going to come down pit road and Miranda would stay out. Maybe these guys would be separated for the next restart, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Miranda copies exactly what the 12 does, comes down right behind him. He actually made up a little bit of time as well on that entry to pit road, so Austin Reedy takes it over. This could go to the 96 here. Kind of surprising that they came down with just 3 laps left in the stage.
Oh, hey, you know what this means, Bradley? It means Miranda and Peel are going to get back together.
Wow.
Oh, boy, right in front of Austin Reedy. Sean Kalis, watch out.
Really sideways there for the 90 machine coming up over the crest. Reedy able to clear that. That car just snapped to the right at the perfect moment. If that happened any later, I think the 96 could have got tagged and ended up in the sand over there on the exit of turn 6.
He escapes mayhem and he holds on to the lead, and we'll keep a keen eye on whether he enters pit road, but actually it will be negated. Race control, Josh Lokenvitz has closed pit road. That is the protocol with 2 laps to go before stage break at lap 30, so Reedy will just keep the car out on track until the end of the stage. And if that is the case, as long as he can hold on to the lead, this will be his 2nd stage win of 2024 and leading a 4-car Fast Banana lockout inside the top 5, with Joe Sanchez occupying that last spot in 5th, looking to catch up to Wyatt Brackett. Final lap in stage number 1 from Sonoma. Boy, we've had a lot to talk about. Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda have finally reemerged into the blend of the field. Peel is 9th, Mario Miranda will be 11th in different parts of the racetrack, and the battle for 5th going on together. Brackett losing 1 to Joe Sanchez, and here's a look to turn 4A.
This is important, though. This is going to be points, so 1 spot for the 30. He's trying to get it back. He gets a little loose. Sanchez to the inside. That is Sean Kalis, 1 lap down in 25th, but he'll use that to his advantage, and I thought maybe Kalis was going to stay in front, but coming through the S's for the final time in stage 1, Austin Reedy looks like he's going to have this thing completely locked up. And how about that? He doesn't have any race wins, but he's going to get some stage wins, and that's going to help even more as he locks it up into the hairpin.
Well, as he comes out of turn 11, he will work his way to turn 12 and the start-finish line, where the stage win will go to Austin Reedy's 2nd stage win of the 2024 season. And Curtis Kelly, Colin Forrester, and Wyatt Brackett will make it all 4 Fast Banana Camrys inside the top 5, picking up crucial points. Joe Sanchez finishing in 4th, Ross Harlow to come home 7th, Justin Urback in 8th, and Lawson Peel looking to capture the several points left available in 9th, and Alex Muscarella in that 48 you're watching out of the final 2 corners. He'll reach the start-finish line, and he'll close out the stage here from Sonoma, California. So we talked about just the dominance of Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda early on. We also mentioned previous history with Lawson Peel leading 50 of the 75 laps in our last trip here back in Season 5. Well, guess what? It turns out that 3 different teams have led laps over the course of Stage 1 entirely. Drinkin' Bros Racing with Peel, and you got Race Team with Mario Miranda, and Fast Banana closing this one out. Austin Reedy, the stage win.
Very interesting turn of events. You know, we saw between Miranda and Peel that it was going to go back and forth, but that kind of early pit road caught us all off guard, and I'm curious as to why that strategy, but now they're going to resume the race lead. The rest of this field probably going to come in and top off with Sunoco race fuel, so that'll put the 12 and the 99 up front. Reedy will kind of resume back to 3rd, so we're going to see the start of this race similar to Stage 2.
Well, Austin Reedy will have a specific fun time trying to catch the iRacing official pace car. It's running up the hill in turns 3 and what's going to be 3A and 4A, cresting over that hill. That's where it gets really dangerous on the rear tires, but Reedy all by himself. There are his teammates there to join him. Curtis Kelly, Forrester, and Wyatt Brackett, Joe Sanchez right in the middle as we'll get everybody together and we'll have our first set of pit stops for most of the field. Apart from those who went in a little earlier, like the Lawson Peel, Mario Melendez, and even the Bill Schoonovers of the world. So it's going to be a much larger visit for pit lane this time by at lap number 31. Speaking of 31, that 31 car, sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, is running inside the top 3. Colin Forrester over the weekend just got over a team, Stonks Motorsports iRacing 6 hours at the Glen win in the prototype category. They won for a team that they call Stevie Wonder Racing, and it includes a lot of the Stonks Motorsports / Fast Banana group. You know, Stonks Motorsports is an auxiliary team that is associated with Fast Banana that they run in other leagues, and they run the same name and the moniker under the special events. So a big congratulations to Colin Forrester on getting him and his team an iRacing 6 hours at the Glen win. I'll tell you, I did it myself with a group of friends several days ago. It was not easy once the rain kicked in. So here are the drivers entering pit road. Big time call for lap 31.
So again, going back to that early pit stop, you're going to see some cars go on by here on the outside, but topping off with fuel, that's the money stop, if you will. These guys have to be careful. If we're making it 30 laps, though, in these stints, you're probably going to see a lot of these guys do this, and I kind of wonder with Miranda and Peel, because they pitted so short, can they make it to the end of Stage 2, as did Reedy and everyone else in this field like they did in Stage 1? I don't know if that's going to shorten up the run or not.
Oh, we'd imagine, Bradley, that for Peel and Miranda, they might be in the situation to where they'll just pit several laps before the stage break like they did in Stage 1. I mean, these are all 30 laps from Stage 1 all the way to the end of this race, so you're not changing the runs in length or distance. And when you add yellow flags, you also take down laps at a slow pace where you have the opportunity to save a bit of fuel and clutch and coast in certain parts of the racetrack. So I'd imagine for Peel and Miranda, they probably could be able to make it to the end of Stage 2 if they wanted to, but for track position's sake, they probably want to pit a little earlier like they did in Stage 1, hence why they have first and second, while Austin Riddy leads the run out of pit road. Stage 1 complete from Sonoma, our first road course race of the season, already bringing us some stellar storylines. Stay with us on VSPEED. Lawson Peel, the race leader, as we prep for the restart.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
The heat is turning up here in Sonoma, California. We welcome you back to our coverage of Race 8 in the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series on VSPEED. Alongside producer/colleague in the booth, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Remember, Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda tangled a little earlier on in Stage 1. Well, here they are, inside and outside of the front row to bring us our first restart of the night, fresh off of Stage 1, where Austin Reedy captured the most amount of points available with that Stage W. Green flag back in the air from Sonoma. Lawson Peel with a great start running up the hill to turns 1 and 2. Side by side, still deciding between the top 10, but Peel leads him up the hill. Miranda with a send.
Oh, wow.
They both go into the sand. Miranda goes into the tire barriers. The drama builds further, and Austin Reedy, once again, the benefactor in one fell swoop.
I mean, if you're Austin Reedy right now, you hope these guys keep going. Justin Erb off the racetrack at the top of the hill. These restarts always like this at Sonoma, but you mix in a couple guys that aren't happy with each other, and it really creates some chaos.
Erb with a spin over the crest. He lost it all by his lonesome, and he drops in turn to 19th place, while Miranda has to scrap through the top 13 in order to get his positions back, and Lawson Peel still holding on to a top 10 right now, but it is becoming oh so difficult to maintain with all of the traffic around him. Here's the replay, and we understood that Miranda would get revenge. We didn't know it would be this early in the restart zone, and goes right up the hill in turn 2, and they both go off track.
I mean, you can call that revenge, but look who benefited and lost the most. You weigh that out, I think both of them kind of lose a lot, and you know, Austin Reedy back to the live shot. He's probably smiling ear to ear right now.
I guess he's just enjoying the fact that he's restarted third behind those two, because as much animosity as they've given each other, Reedy has always just cleared away from the parted seas and is able to move forward, and just even a better situation for Fast Banana Racing. Remember, they had all 4 of their drivers in the top 5 at the end of Stage 1. They still have all of their members intact inside the top 10. Curtis Kelly getting to move to second. Steven Stempian, though, looking to challenge. He went for the spin earlier on in Stage 1 after getting tapped from behind by Reedy at the entry of turn 2. So maybe some more animosity between several other drivers as Colin Forrester fends to the outside of Lawson Peel, wanting to regain all that he lost in the S's.
He's going to have a long get back to that lead. We're talking about 5.5 seconds at the 12 car. At least it happened early. He'll be able to drive back up there. The 99, though, of Mario Miranda has brought it down pit road. He's getting some damage repaired. He's back out on the racetrack.
Boy, that is a big-time shunt for the Tulsa, Oklahoma native. He spent a total of 44 seconds in the pit box. It's not what you wanted to see at all. Miranda, in turn, will drop to 20th place, and we know for the moment that he won't be a lap down, but he's just very close to that territory. He's now just running through turns 3 and 3A, while Reedy's getting to that part of the racetrack right now. So Miranda really has to push up the pace in order to stay ahead of this 96 and prohibit being put a lap down. That is dangerous stuff for Miranda, but it seemed as though it was necessary given the damage.
Yeah, and he'll make some time up here. He'll probably end up, you know, within a few seconds, but now you put yourself in a different realm of traffic, drivers that you haven't raced around all evening. And if you're looking at the lap traffic for the 96, he'll be picking them apart here soon, and if Miranda gets caught up in some of that, Reedy could get up there and put him a lap down.
And all is fair in love and racetrack wars. And for Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda, it just seemed like Lawson was the red flag that Miranda's raging bull wanted to chase after up the hill in turn 2, but a bull found the wall instead. So they both have to try and recoup what they've lost. Peel in the better spot, still in 7th place. We have another driver down pit road. It's going to be Garrett Brown in the 16, who's fallen 3 laps down in 23rd. I think he picked up some damage as well. There may have been a situation that we did not see live on our feed that may have attributed to Brown's trip this time by, but you can tell just some of the left front damage that he did pick up. Look back towards the mid-pack, and just on the outskirts of the top 10, Zach Wilson still picking up spots up to 11th here.
And quite a few of these guys are now in kind of a beneficiary position where they're going to pick up possible top 5s for this stage. Joe Sanchez up to fourth, Wyatt Brackett in fifth, and with one less car to deal with up there at the front. Austin Reedy, he could very easily run away with stage number 2. Curtis Kelly holding up on the S's here with Steve Stempien in second and third. And I mean, it really does change the atmosphere of this entire race, because these guys are no longer playing catch up to Peel and the 99 of Mirinda. They're out here turning their own laps and holding them at bay.
Well, it's the straight up philosophy of keep your car on the racetrack and the track will clear up for you in a way. And with all the mistakes that Peel and Mirinda have done trying to get at each other, it's only fair that those who stay on the racetrack gain up all the time and in turn take away all the positions. Look on board with Ross Harlow, who's up to P6, and this is better territory for the 3 car, who was struggling to even crack the latter half of the top 10. He was able to move up to 9th over the course of that first stage, but really plateaued at that moment. Lots of traffic in front. Sanchez loose up the hill to turn 3A. He looks underneath the fellow Chevrolet of Steven Stempien to turn 4A. Bracket down low, and Harlow going to be able to benefit off the corner. He gets to the inside of Bracket, may look for a 2-for-1 in turn 4A.
Stempien losing a couple spots there through turn 7. Now into the S's, back and forth. He settles back into 4th, but now it's Joe Sanchez pulling away. Teammate, thankfully, behind him here, so maybe he can relax a little bit, but the 88 was very loose coming up over the hill on 3.
And this is great news for Harlow, who at the moment is looking to pick up his 3rd straight top 5 finish. Finished in 5th at Kansas, then another 5th place running at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and was strong really all night long. And tonight, he sits in 5th based off of what has happened in front and behind him. He's also looking for his 4th straight top 10 of the season and will be his 5th overall in the season 7 campaign. So lots of good news all around for Harlow, whose consistency got him to a season championship in this series several years ago. Meanwhile, on the other tablet, Colin Forrester getting loose and into the sand. That pushes Wyatt Brackett ahead. And how about Jonathan Cofield? I don't think we've mentioned the 58's name all too much. Boy, has the season been a struggle for this driver right here, who has not finished the race inside the top 10 and only has one 15th place finish in the season, and that came the way of the Super Speedway at Talladega. On the road course, Cofield is shining, looking for his first top 10 of the year.
And Cofield was very strong at Bristol. Remember, he started on the pole. He ran with these guys for a lot of that race. Just another one of those, well, you have a really good car, but things beyond your control happen around you. Found himself DNF'd in that race, and I remember in the season opener at Daytona, also up towards the front, got turned, and there was quite a few drivers, especially at Daytona, that we're used to seeing them succeed in other leagues or in other race realms. And here tonight, you know, this could be the turnaround for Cofield. He just needs to get a solid finish, maybe to put the confidence back in the column.
You know, he's not in the Rookie of the Year candidate leadership right now, because that honor does go to Eddie Smith at the moment. But for any rookie that's just looking to get used to this series and find a break to where it's been harder to come around for the 58 tonight, really on the road course will be a shining moment for him and magical in a sense. There is Alex Muscarella, who picked up the final stage point available in the first stage at lap 30. I think there's problems here for the 48 because he's dropped all the way to 18th.
Yeah, he might have brought it down pit road. It looks like 8 laps on this. Instead, a few guys 4 laps. It's kind of weird that we're seeing Lost Appeal out there for 12, but they pitted early, so it's kind of a toss-up here between guys that did bring it down pit road. Muscarella must have had some problems off track or an issue earlier on that put him back. I'll look through and see if I can find anything, but yeah, that's a tough break. You get the tail end of stage 1, and now you find yourself just trying to hold on to the lead lap.
It looked like down pit road at the end of stage 1, it was a speeding penalty for the 48. So he spent about 1.5 minutes in his pit box with all of the service given to him, and was looking back in the replay to see when he came down, and he came down when everyone else did. It was just a matter of losing all the track position and staying down pit road way longer than everyone else did. So that's the shunt there for the 48 of Muscarella. he drops back to 18th, but luckily enough, he has not fallen a lap down. He's still there, just running where he is, and Mario Miranda trying to catch up to him. So we'll keep an eye on those two as things move forward, while your race leader holds on to a 3.5-second advantage over Curtis Kelly in the long line of cars right behind, which includes Lawson Peel, who's been able to trudge his way through the mud and finds himself in 4th.
Yeah, this long line going from 3rd all the way back to 9th position. Any one of these cars could be a position into the hairpin. Off of the S is a little bit overshot from the 12 of Peel. Sanchez holding on pretty well as of now. Curtis Kelly pulls away a little bit, so there's a gap from 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But very racy back here. You got multiple tandems of cars setting up passes, and here's Peel diving to the inside, crossover from the 55, back up to 3rd now. Doesn't complete the pass, though, and the 12 of Peel is going to have the inside here for turn 12.
And the common thread that we've seen over the night between Peel and Miranda is, by far, they are the fastest cars on the racetrack, and they can drive these cars way harder into the corners than we've seen anyone else do over the course of the night, and even in the sessions before in practice and qualifying. But the differentiation in why you're seeing Austin Reedy, guys like him in the race lead versus Peel, who dropped back to 9th, and Miranda back in 19th, mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. It can be easy for a driver that's quick to get overconfident, start to make more of those mistakes as they push the car harder and harder over that limit. We've seen that at full display between those two. You add in beef between the drivers, it makes things a lot more difficult in a sense. So you're looking at how the beneficiaries have acted. They've acted a little more calmer. They've certainly haven't been the fastest cars on the racetrack in terms of lap time, but they're consistent enough to keep the cars on the track entirely, while Peel and Miranda found some struggles trying to get around each other and push those limits.
Well, that's kind of what we saw in the beginning of the season. Miranda and Peel both having just not good starts, and you add in the feud here between the two of them. This could be another one of those weekends where you're thinking, well, what happened? This is the track that we talked in pre-race that they dominate. Reedy is in the position now to just drive away, as Peel actually working towards the 71 of Kelly. They're starting to tighten back up here from 2nd position.
Well, the grains are falling through the middle of the hourglass for Curtis Kelly. His time in 2nd is borrowed in a sense. Lawson Peel is charging hard, and he put up a 1:16.1, about half a second quicker than that 71 did at the cross of the start-finish line lasted. Peel is using every bit of asphalt available at the exit of turn 4A, because you get so close to that tire barrier, you make one mistake and you find yourself hard into that barrier, and you're basically out of this event. Peel is using whatever he can to gain all that momentum, and look how much he gains going into the S's. Those are turns 7, 8, 9, and then this right-hander that's very quick, turn 10, basically in the middle of 4th or 5th gear, then down to turn 11, run off the corner for Peel. He gains the advantage, hard on the brakes. Peel up to 2nd place, and Sanchez almost sent it in fully.
Oh, and
Harlow gets into him.
Harlow locked it up as well. 2 cars locked it up there. The 55 of Sanchez got away with it, but then Harlow came in. Shout out to, I would call that a Miley Cyrus there. I think you get the reference, but that was just a complete lockup of the front tires.
Yep, a wrecking ball entering the corner, and you can see the smoke coming out of the right front from Sanchez, and right behind him, Harlow didn't fare much better. He just got to turn a little earlier than Sanchez did. Here's a second look at it, this time from the 3 cars perspective. And you'll see the smoke approach from the left side of your screen, and then Harlow will turn, then the tire lockup, and the contact.
And so that's the mistakes we were talking about, where you can lose 7, 8, 9 positions very quickly. Harlow goes from the top 5 back to 9th. Sanchez just in front of him. I'm sure that, neither one of those drivers are going to be in the same feud that we had with the 99 and the 12, but you gotta think that eventually they're going to see each other again, and we're going to see this moment of the 99 Miranda. Maybe is it done? I don't know.
Well, it's hard to decipher here. We're just shy of halfway. We'll cross the marker right now with Austin Reedy getting to the line, holding on to a 3.8-second lead over Lawson Peel that is shrinking by the lap. Curtis Kelly has been able to settle nicely in 3rd. Wyatt Brackett, though, is holding off some fierce competition. Steven Stepien Colin Forrester, Jonathan Cofield among those that are behind. And in that incident between Sanchez and Harlow, who was the beneficiary off of that? Jonathan Cofield up 2 spots.
Cofield just picking him away. That's what he needs. He could possibly get a top 5. He's in striking distance to do that as well, especially if you see Stimpian go up here and try to challenge. We've seen sideways there from the 30 of Wyatt Brackett. He's holding on to 4th, but to the outside. Maybe a crossover through the S's, and they're all tight on each other. We can see another lockup in the hairpin as well.
And all 4 of these drivers in specific situations in this series. We know Colin Forrester was at the top of the Sunoco Cup Series standings at the beginning of this season after getting an 8th place finish at Daytona, winning Las Vegas, and getting some stages along the way. But it seems as though as we've dug deeper into the regular season, you found a couple more pitfalls in Forrester's season overall. He finished top 10 in the 3rd race of the campaign at Bristol, but then 3 finishes, now 4 finishes with Charlotte, where he finished outside the top 15, and a worst 31st place finish at Texas, where he got into a crash early involving Jesse Whittington while running inside the top 3. So it certainly hasn't been the season worth remembering at start for Forrester, but we know how fast he is. 2 career Sunoco Cup Series wins. He's one of those that could be very well done on these road courses and just consistent enough to run top 10. He did pick up stage points after finishing in 3rd at lap 30. In a good position to get some stage points this time around.
And Fast Banana as a whole has always been really quick, especially at the super speedways where they work together really well. It's just, again, it goes back to, well, you got to finish. You got to come in that position at the end of this thing. That's where you get the most payday, and that hasn't been the case for the 31 as of late. Austin Reedy way up ahead of this field, though. Lawson Peel 3 seconds back. I think Reedy could hold on to this if he keeps it consistent. We're looking at about 0.6 of a second gained each lap, but I think the gap is big enough here. So we have about 14 to go as they cross the stripe for stage 2.
Oh, but do you think, Bradley, that Peel will attempt to make this pass on Reedy if he gets there, or will it be the same scenario as stage 1, where Peel will run as closely as he can and then enter pit road about 3 laps to go before the stage break?
I don't know. Maybe he changes that now that Miranda's kind of deep in this field and back in 19th. I don't know if he pulls that same strategy or not, because now it's not a matter of kind of the strategy against the 99. It's the strategy against Reedy, and you've shown that you have the speed. Right now, I think for Peel, the best thing he could do is get a top 10 and get some stage points, because they kind of threw that away by coming down pit road.
Reedy up by 2.9 seconds, and the gap between these two is closing by the minute. However, Peel just a little slower the last time by at a 1:16.3. Reedy was able to clock in at a 1:16.2 at the cross of the start-finish line. So it seems to be a bit of the upper hand for the 96 as they aim to get around that 28 machine. That is Casey Knighton, who is set to go another lap down back in 20th place. And we'll look further back through the field, and several drivers are just minding their own business, running their laps in single file categories, or like you're seeing here with Forrester leading a group of 4, just looking to hold on to position where there's a ton of competition around. But look further back in the top 15, you'll find the Doritos car of Chris Progar, Eddie Smith back in this 87 car. We haven't talked much about Chris Progar, who's had some shining moments throughout the 2024 season. Remember, Charlotte early on used up his tires over the first 20 laps, but how great was it to see him run up with the best of the best in this series? Progar started in 19th and solid progress from the drop of the green in stage 1. He's up to 15th place.
Yeah, it was good to see, and it helps the driver's confidence when you can go up there and you know that you can hold some weight against, you know, the guys that are having success week in, week out. And especially at a track like Charlotte, where the longest race of the season, it was an endurance, and, you know, I think kind of a learning curve too as well for the 7 of how these guys run up towards the front, how they're going to save their stuff for the long run. And as you can see here, it maybe took a chapter from that book as he's worked his way up 4 spots here in this race. Again, we can't really use this as the measuring stick for how good he is, because road courses, they don't favor a lot of guys. It really does change the the atmosphere when you come to Sonoma or Watkins Glen or any road course in general here. We got Eddie Smith to the inside in the hairpin. And again, another example of that. Eddie Smith, who has been really good as a rookie. He's been up front in a lot of these races, dominant performances, and led a lot of laps. But again, it goes back to 15th position, and you've got to make the best of the situation.
That's Dorito dust getting cleaned up there in turn 11. Smith able to move on by to 15th. Here is Talladega winner Alex Huffman in the 10 car, and he's been all over the place, it seems, ever since his illustrious first career win that, much like Aaron Adcock did, it just really surged him up in standings and was able to work well with that. Actually ran in the top 10 at the end of the Charlotte race, and last 3 races, 2 of those top 10s, which of course includes that Talladega win back in late April. He runs near his teammates. We're used to, at least with Justin Winters, before he eventually disconnected from the server, but a lot of Ford Mustangs around him, which include Austin Shoemaker and then Eddie Smith several positions behind. But this is the zone to where, Bradley, you're seeing all the mid-pack drivers separate. There's a ton of skill gaps in road course racing at this time of the season, and you'd often imagine that that's why we don't have as many drivers here tonight as we would on a typical oval, or like we did 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, just because, you know, a lot of drivers get intimidated by the idea of road course racing. But to brave it out and, of course, to gain the points that are available from those that are missing definitely means a lot for these fair share of drivers, and that does include Justin Erb, who's just outside the top 10, but looking to chase down Zach Wilson for that final stage point.
With what you said there on some of these guys not coming out here tonight, guys sometimes are realistic and they say, well, you know, I don't have the confidence to even get around this place. I might make a mistake, take out a driver or something, you know, along those lines. And sometimes it's kind of a sportsmanship mentality of, I don't want to go out there and mess up anyone's day. So we also got to look at that as far as the car count goes. And we actually have a few cars early exit in this race. Richard Swavely, Justin Winters, Dakota Curtis, Bill Schoonover, and Chris Shoemaker. I'm not sure what happened to Chris, but he started up towards the 15th, 16th position, and officially he's out. That kind of hurts there. He's still got the 14 out there with Austin Shoemaker. Those guys kind of started near each other, and I'm interested to know what happened to Chris that put him out of this race.
Yeah, he went out of this race a little earlier on, and Richard Swavely is the most recent disconnection from tonight's event at Sonoma. It does get physically taxing, though, after 51 laps, because in about 4 laps, we'll be at NIS length for Sonoma. Not that long ago, when the Cup Series ran and iRacing official sessions for the A-Class cars visited this specific racetrack in California. So, you know, it does get pretty physically daunting when you spend so long behind the sim, having to work different corners versus just trying to drive an oval, which is a little easier to understand when you have less corners on the track and you work more so off of momentum. Let's go, round 2. Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy searching for the top spot. This is 9 laps before the eventual stage 2 break. Hop on the brakes for Peel. He dives underneath, hugging the yellow and blue curbing in turn 11, and he's got it. Lawson Peel back to the point.
Well done to claw his way back up there. He was as far back as, I believe, 8th position after that contact. That's an eternity that he just made up there in about 15 laps as we cycle through. Less than 10 to go for stage number 2. And he pulls away from Austin Reedy. Reedy not going to get stage number 2, it looks like, unless the 12 makes a mistake. But they're far enough ahead of Curtis Kelly, Wyatt Brackett, and these guys that it does look like Peel could run away and definitely get this stage 2, unless he's going to come down pit road. And Kenneth, you asked me that earlier. I don't think he's going to do it this time.
Do you think he saved enough under the stage caution last time?
I hope so, because for his sake, he does not want to have to come down pit road and be deep in this field again. You know that the 99 of Miranda has probably already planned that, where he'll come in, and he did top off with fuel there when he got that damage repaired, so he might stay out. He might be on an entirely different strategy, and if I'm the 12, I don't want to be anywhere near the 99 right now.
Well, the good news is they are separated by eons, it feels like at this point, at least over a minute from first place Peel to 18th place Mario Miranda. We do have news that one driver's in on pit road, and actually disconnected. It was Alex Huffman who was running inside the top 15. Poor news there for Huffman, who was running well. We talked about him not that long ago. He adds to the list of DNFs from Sonoma. He finishes right now 19th, but he will lose laps, of course, to Casey Neiden, Ray Rogers, and Sean Kalis, Brad Fulham, among those that are still on track. Alex Huffman disconnecting from the race here at lap 53.
We were just talking about the 10. He was up in the top 15. I mean, he was picking off some cars, looking pretty good. Not sure what happened to him, but unless it was some kind of off track or maybe some damage that he couldn't repair. Strange turn of events here. We've got still over half the field out here, but it is very spread out. We're going to have another stage caution to put these guys back together. The excitement will ensue on these restarts. Sonoma notorious for that uphill in turn 1 where guys will get into each other. And of course we saw what happened with Peel and Miranda on that uphill. Reedy leading some laps here today. He's got 24 lead. He could probably get the bonus point for most lead if he can get back up to the front.
That's a great point you make there about the hefty situation of, you know, what's exactly going to go down between, you know, Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda, and of course just the hefty amount of things you have to think about for the DQ, or the DC rather, for Alex Huffman in that sense. But so far, everyone just all single file, and it becomes more difficult, of course, to gain track position when you don't have as much traffic around you as the laps continue to wind down. Stempien hunting down Wyatt Brackett, looking to chug down the Bud machine, entering turn 4A. This is a better exit from the Chevrolet. He's got the run down the corner. This is going to be another right-hander, hard on the brakes. This time, Stempien relinquishes an attempted pass on the 30. So that bid for third place still underway, or rather fourth place still underway, several laps before the end of stage number 2. Now, I pose a question to you, Bradley, because we know that the 99 and the 12 have gone back and forth for most of this night, but ever since that restart, and ever since Miranda got into the tire barriers and visited pit road, now their distance is really apparent. There is such a large amount of distance between those two. If you are Mario Miranda, you just gained a spot off of Alex Huffman's disconnection. You move up to 17th. What's your plan? Are you short pitting? Are you extending this one to the stage caution? How do you plan your attack to get back into a solid finishing position, or even to reach back to that 12 of Lawson Peel and make it a show?
Well, that's a tough question because he had to come in and get damage repaired. He had brought it back down pit road, so he does have the fuel to afford to take this long and get back up to the front. However, he's not going to make it to the end of this race, so that's where it's a weird spot for him right now. Yes, he can get back up there, but is it all about Lawson Peel at this point? Do you care where you finish? Because, yeah, you can absolutely be back up there next to him and make sure he has a bad day as well. Is it worth it, though? Because we know that these guys pay attention. They go back, review every single instance of drivers getting into each other, the aggressive driving, and, of course, Miranda has already had a situation there, so does he really want to add to that list of things that went wrong during the day here? Or does he want to just let the bygones be bygones, let this race cycle out, try to get a top 10? And I really don't know what's going through the mind of the 99 of Miranda right now.
You're right. Warning for Mario Miranda at Texas for aggressive driving. That was his first sort of penalty and warning of the 2024 season. So race control, probably post-race, will take a look at that incident and see whether it was out of negligence or just a racing incident between those two. In any case, nonetheless, it did go to the upper hand of Lawson Peel anyway, because he fell back only to a top 10 position, while Miranda just basically plummeted all the way to 18th and had to take a pit stop nonetheless. But they will also monitor the incident in turn 4A earlier in stage 1. If you remember, when Peel turned around Mario Miranda, they will take a look at that as well. So fair assessments could be given to either driver, as the onboard look from Harlow as he looks underneath Colin Forrester. That's for 6th place.
We get back up to 6th here. Harlow, of course, during the beginning of stage 2 was up in 6th. Made a little mistake. Those guys got in that hairpin there with the 55 of Joe Sanchez, who still hasn't really recovered those positions just yet. He's working his way back up here. And I was also noticing the last few times by, Wyatt Brackett and Steve Stempien were catching up to Curtis Kelly. Now, side by side, Stempien might be able to go up here and get third as he's able to clear the 30th bracket.
He will get stage points as long as he doesn't go off track or go for a spin like he did in the first stage. He gets around Wyatt Brackett. He splits the defense, at least in terms of fast banana defense. And Ross Harlow still trying to crack over ahead of Colin Forrester and break that Dunkin' Donuts cup, if you will. He's still looking down low at the run up the hill and turn 2. This is 3 and 3A next, but they remain single file. Those are the closest battles we're seeing, at least as far as the top 10 is concerned. Sanchez and Cofield, you saw them briefly in the background. They've just sort of settled where they're at. There hasn't been any swapping of position between those two. 3 laps to go before the end of stage 2 here from California, and this is decision time if you're Lawson Peel. We know at this exact juncture, with 3 laps to go before stage 1, that's when Peel and Miranda, first and second, visited pit road to get track position at the yellow flag. Does it happen here? Veering to the left is Peel. This is a mirror image of stage 1. Peel is in.
So interesting to me. I mean, I guess if you set a strategy in your mind, it's going to work. You rehearse it, you practice it. But again, this 3 laps shy just before they close pits, and here he comes down. He's going to give away those stage points again.
And this is forfeiting in turn another stage win. We could have had a stage win stolen from Austin Reedy, but it appears he might sweep the stages and get all the points available, and that is possibly a mistake, Bradley, if you're looking at the standings, because who's at the top of the standings right now? This 96 car, and he leads by 48 points.
Yep, that's just going to add to it, and, weigh the pros and cons of that. This is definitely a race that Peel is going to go out here and try to win altogether, and he has the speed to do so. But, the trifecta of if you have a mistake, Reedy's already got the 2 stages. He gets the win. He extends this lead even more, whereas Peel gets the win. But it's kind of negated by the fact that Reedy won both stages. So I don't know. It's very interesting to me. It's kind of bizarre that they're coming down this early. But again, it goes back to they've probably rehearsed this. They went through it in practice. They know where they are as far as fuel and how this race is going to end and play out. So probably something that I'm not getting because I'm not a road course guy.
Well, this is the racing equivalent of playing the long game if you're Austin Reedy, because while, yes, he does not have a win, and while Lawson Peel is searching for his 2nd straight W this season, Austin gains a playoff point for winning the first stage. He will gain another playoff point if he wins stage 2, and he's gotten all the points to go along with it. He's got the overall standings lead if you're not considering playoffs, and that does mean a lot, because even if you don't get wins, if you have all the points to your side, that means you get the regular season championship. What does that give you? Even if you don't have wins, playoff points, and therefore a better buffer and advantage when you get into elimination rounds starting in Atlanta in September. So this is a long-term approach that Austin Reedy is playing, and I'd have to say, Bradley, I like this approach. Maybe you're not going for the W that gives you the automatic golden ticket, but you're sort of giving yourself a little more insurance by picking up all these points.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you can do to mitigate the damage, or if you have a bad week, rack them up every chance you can. And if these guys are going to present the opportunity, stay out here. Even if you don't win this race, it's still a phenomenal day. A top 3 is probably in the books here for Reedy as we go approach the white flag, or actually the checkered flag for this stage. Crossing the line to get stage number 2. Austin Reedy officially up there, and Curtis Kelly going to come across. Steve Stempien did go up there and snag away for 3rd. Wyatt Brackett and the top 5 with Ross Harlow.
Well, don't look now. Battle for 10th. This is the final points spot available in the stage. Justin Erb playing defense, looking to build up a Home Depot wall with a run out of turn 11 for Peel. Not good enough. He does not get a stage finish position inside the top 10. Caution flag is out. 2nd stage is over from Sonoma, and for the 2nd time tonight, it is Austin Reedy taking it 3rd career stage win in Season 7.
So a sweep there on the stages. Again, we go back to the speed that we've seen from Peel, the likelihood of winning, but then you go to the short pit and what these guys have done strategy-wise. I think Reedy's just content with a stellar day and all of these bonus points in the playoffs to catch up to the pace car. It's fun to watch, but we still got some fireworks to settle. And again, going back to what is Mario Miranda going to do here?
Well, he did not pit throughout this entire run, so we definitely understood that the fuel marker, of course, was good enough for Miranda to not come down a second time prior to the stage. But we do know he will be packed up with everyone else by the time we get the next restart. So there's good news on that side as well, but there will be a lot that Miranda will have to do, a lot of work cut out for him in that race team Camry if he does want to consider himself at least one of the top finishers or a race winner here from Sonoma. His night definitely got more difficult as we push forward through stage 2. Everyone picks up the pace car, and for the second straight stage, Curtis Kelly gets a second place finish. So that 71 car just almost working in tandem with Austin Reedy. Fast Banana also continues to keep all 4 of their Camrys inside the top 10 for another stage finish. So it seems as though Reedy is saying, we're all eating now. It's not going to be me getting the team entirely together, and I guess we're all eating like Willie Beeman.
I'll have to be honest with you on that reference. It's a little over my head, but you know, anytime as a teammate you can help your other guys benefit and helping the points and everything looks good, you look down and you see everyone in the top 10 and you're just having a stellar day yourself, it's got to help the confidence. And I mean, stage 2, it's looking to be more of the same. I would just keep doing what you're doing as these guys come down pit road, splash of fuel, move on to the next one.
Here's the field on pit road. Austin Reedy, the race leader, and everyone else going to come in. Steven Stempion also with a great third place finish in that sense. And there's Lawson Peel. He will stay out. Everyone else will come in. Peel will have the lead when we get to our next restart for the final stage of action from Sonoma, California. First road course race of the season. Reedy sweeps both stages, and Peel returns to the top spot when we get the next green flag. We'll take another short break and be right back with more coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series from the Sonoma Raceway.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller.
Yeah,
Needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to Sonoma. 2 stages in the books. Final stage about to get underway. We're glad that you're with us here on VSPEED. We're alongside Bradley Cooper. I am Kenneth Bueno. I will correct myself, Willie Beeman became narcissistic, but I was trying to reference JID's Double XL freestyle from, I think it was 2018, where he says, JID are calling Willie Beeman, but I'm about the team, everybody eat it. That's what I meant. Fast Banana gets both stages. Curtis Kelly finished second in stages 1 and 2. He'll start second here at lap number 64. And Bradley, you and I were having the conversation of why are you giving Austin Reedy all of these free points while Lawson Field is doing this to gain track position, thus the race win. You know that Austin Reedy already has a 48-point advantage going into tonight. Why give him more?
Yeah, it still baffles me. We were having that discussion of, it's track position, yes, and you keep getting back to the lead, but if all the people out here on the racetrack that you probably don't want to give a stage win to, it's the guy that's 48 points ahead of everyone. And yeah, he's going to add to that lead. It's going to be interesting how it all shakes out. Playoff points on the books. We're past the halfway point. This is where it matters. Loss of Peel going to get the restart, and pay attention to the 14th place driver. Start back there, the 99 of Marinda. What's going to happen here on this restart up the hill? Green flags out. Stage number 3, the final one here from Sonoma.
And another solid jump for the 12 of Lawson Peel. Rockets up the hill to turns 1 and 2. We are door to door for that second spot. Kelly relinquishes it, gives it to Reedy for the slight moment. Brackett goes for the spin in front of Joe Sanchez, and Steven Stepien slides off track. Zach Wilson is going to keep that 30 car alive for the most part, but he picks up damage in this scenario, and all of a sudden the chaos reigns once again in turns 1 and 2. Another car off track. This time it's Colin Forrester. Boy, Fast Banana slowly falling apart here on this last restart.
Yeah, it all went down the drain here for all of these guys. Fast Banana was up in the top 10. We were just talking about the points day that they were having, and now it falls apart. Austin Reedy already has a 2-second gap for him to Peel, and Curtis Kelly hot on the bumper, but Cofield up to 4th now after all of that.
The best run that we've seen the 58 car have all night long, and he's reaped all the benefits from the cars going around and all over the place in front of him. Cofield could get his career best finish, lock up the brakes in front of him. Curtis Kelly looking to keep tabs with his teammate as Cofield snags that way loose at the exit of 11. Here comes Sanchez. They almost touch, going to the start-finish line.
Now into turn 1, he's going to lose another position. A quick blink there as the cars disappear. You see the 58 kind of scatter across your screen, but luckily the 3 of Harlow is clear, and they get by turn 1 and turn 2. Going to settle back out. Cofield definitely on track as we have another car sideways. It's Herb off the corner at turn 3, and looks like the 51 of Zach Wilson's going off. And these cars change in handling.
Oh, these cold tires are getting these drivers off the mark. And Zach Wilson, who had a top 10, 15 place running going at the moment, he goes sideways up the hill in turn 3. And he goes straight up. Yeah, he's out of here. Turn 4A, he just gives up, goes slamming into the barriers, and Zach Wilson is called it a night from Sonoma. Another DNF, and this is going haywire for those everywhere across the field.
Interesting tactic, though. I guess when you've had enough, the frustration and turn 4 wall is the way to get it back. You just set yourself level there, and I'm watching Zach Wilson on the driver cam, but that's a frustrating day. He was 10th, I believe, on that last stage, and now DNF here. This is the final stage, so there's no recovery. Once you make that mistake, I kind of agree. It's like it's over, but I don't know. That fight inside of me, sometimes it's self-terminating. It's a difficult decision.
And we've referenced so many times over the show that turn 4A is a trouble spot when you get to that curve and this car starts bouncing. But when you get to turn 3, it's a left-hander that goes up the hill. And while 3A, you can get the rear tires lit up if you're a little too early on the gas pedal, cresting that hill. Turn 3 is difficult in its own right because you hop on the brakes slightly, and that weight shift with this 3,400-pound stock car can send it around. You're going up the hill, you lose all the grip, you lose all the downforce at the underbody of the race car, and that's where you see the product of a lot of these spins. Justin Erb went around there and 3 and 3A, and the same went down with Zach Wilson. And when you add in the fact that these drivers are mostly on cold tires, fresh off the stage 2 pit stops, you get extra trouble too. A look with the 20 of Justin Urban. This is coincidentally right in front of Mario Miranda, who's worked up to 7th place on his comeback tour. And that's it. Grab a piece of the curb up the hill in turn 3, and that's your death note.
Yeah, 51 did the same thing that sent it around. And just prior to that, we had saw Steve Stempien have some problems. There was issues with a couple different cars, fast banana cars that had fallen out. I'll try to go back and find that as well, but that was a look with Zach Wilson as he has officially taken an early exit here from Sonoma. But it was a couple others, and I think Stempien's recovered back to 10th. He's now working. Alex Muscarella back out on the racetrack in 9th here. So I'm not sure. I thought we had the 48 disconnected.
Oh, we did. He was right around the area of Mario Miranda. He was sitting behind Mario Miranda as worse as 19th throughout this race. So both of them executing the flawless comebacks here in the final stage, and that's really where it matters most. Muscarella, who finally has been able to get better finishes over the last several weeks. It seems as though things are somewhat finally turning around. A top 15 at Charlotte, top 10 at Kansas with an 8th place running. That was, at the moment, his best run of the season thus far. So this could definitely complement the last several weeks of hard work and dedication to get these races done and dusted with some good points. Side-by-side action between the rookie and Justin Erb. That's Shane Wyatt clinging on to 12th place, and this is right behind Chris Krogar, who started this race in 19th and has worked his way up to 11th.
A lot of racing left to be done. Over 20 laps here from Sonoma. Actually, over 10 laps. I apologize for that. VSPEED calculator a little bit off. Lap 68 about to be completed. Loss of Peel pulls out 6.2 seconds over Austin Reedy. And Reedy has company from Kelly, Sanchez, Harlow. I mean, there's really a lot of spots to lose here. Reedy, who's had the sweep of stages, 2 of them here. Doesn't look like the win is on the table anymore, unless something dramatic happens with Lawson Peel.
And this is the best vantage point all night long for the 55 driver, Joe Sanchez. We talked about his engagement over the last several weeks in between our off time from Charlotte up until tonight. Well, he's creeping onwards to the 71, giving him the deal of the bumper in turn 11. Maybe a warning shot before they go up the hill to turns 1 and 2. But he's one of the 6 drivers who led more than 20 laps at the Charlotte race for Memorial Day weekend, or at least our version of Memorial Day weekend racing. Sanchez was one of 3 Drinking Bros Racing drivers to lead more than 20 laps, and that includes Lawson, of course, the race winner at the time, and the fellow teammate Brandon Banks, who, if we catch up to him, he is all the way back in 15th. One of the better runs we've seen the 54 have all night long after just hanging back beneath the top 20, loose up the hill. That's turn 2. He hangs on to it, and here's Eddie Smith behind him.
Yeah, both of them loose there as they started up the hill, and I was trying to go back. It was Wyatt Brackett there on that restart that had actually lost all those positions. Remember, Brackett finished up in the top 10 there for that stage, and now he's back in 13th position, trying to get around the 27 of Shane Wyatt as they go into turn 7. I know we have A and B, and I've always just kind of numbered these courses individually per turn, but yeah, very technical part of the racetrack here. Wyatt Brackett on recovery back towards that top 10.
I think everyone knows that when you focus on American circuits, the turns are going to be all over the place. And the reason they do this is because it's technically the shorter layouts of Sonoma Raceway. They have a downhill section that leads into a somewhat carousel part of the track. That officially for Sonoma is turn 6. Turn 7 is a hairpin that takes you back to what we call 7A, the hard-braking right-hander that leads you to the S's right after. And there you can see it, that carousel that brings you down to that drag strip part of the racetrack. That's the official layout for Sonoma Raceway, but NASCAR raced it for a couple years and decided, well, we like the shorter course better. So we go there, and all of a sudden you have to rename the corners. You have 3, then 3A. They didn't want to call it turn 4, but because turn 4 takes you to that interior part of the road course, and we call it 4A and then 7A. I don't know, it just gets confusing, and I wouldn't be surprised if anyone else is confused the first time they visit Sonoma in real life and in sim, because they're like, why are the numbers with the letters. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, when do they start putting algebra into the equations of racing? And I know I'm not the best at math. I sometimes struggle just to get the lap counters correct. So for me, we almost had a lock up there on the brakes, and Curtis Kelly still working on Austin Reedy through that hairpin. 5 cars bunched back up, and we almost had another scenario where we saw earlier with Sanchez and Harlow. Hopefully we don't have that, because it's been a stellar day for Reedy, and he would kind of stand to benefit the worst if one of these guys did lock it up.
It's a quintuplet, and the last thing you want is to be taken out from a mistake by someone else. We've seen the counter go up as high as maybe 5 or more throughout this race. And right at the tail end of this choo-choo train is Mario Miranda, who started in second, has led 11 laps tonight. But over the course of the last stage and now stage and a half, he's on the comeback, trying to gain whatever he can before the end of this one. And we know that because it's a road course race, we will not have any cautions fly out due to on-track incidents. So whatever Miranda gains is going to come down to raw pace alone. And gaining on Lawson Peel, where he's already almost 11 seconds above this 99 car, is going to be a miraculously tall task, but to at least finish in top 5 territory, or at least move up to second, that's what you really need if you're Miranda in this case.
Lock up on the brakes there from Harlow, so there's another position now officially into the top 5 for the 99. Next 3 cars in line, they're all right in quick succession from second back to 4th, and Mario Miranda on the right pace. He definitely could get around these guys before the end, but again, like you said, catching up the loss of Peel, we're talking about 10 seconds. Last time by, a little bit quicker than the guys in front, but loss of Peel, 1 minute 15, and his best 1:14. He's just been in clean air, and he is not slowed down.
Yeah, and he's one of 2 drivers in the entirety of the field to have a lap inside the 1:15s. The only other driver to do it was Joe Sanchez with a fast 1:15.931. Speaking of Sanchez, still hunting down on Toyota Camry land in front, otherwise known as the 2 fast banana Camrys in Curtis Kelly and Austin Reedy. Higher arc there through the S's, going up to turns 8, 9, and then eventually turn 10 with a fast right-hander leading down to that hairpin in turn 11. How do you attack this if you're Sanchez, and how patient are you willing to be with about 18 to go?
I'm looking in my mirror right now, and I see a 99 car. I'm not going to be patient anymore. I got to get around these 2 cars, get up here to second, see if I can pull away and put as much gap between me and the 99 and Miranda as possible. So the patience has ran out. We're looking at this is crunch time right here.
They run up the hill all single file, and in the meantime, 1:15.4 clocked in by who else? Mario Miranda, who sets the fastest lap that time through, and he is now chasing what's going to be the rest of this quartet through the top 2. And Austin Reedy holding on. I think he understands that his teammate Kelly will play as much defense as possible just to keep everyone at bay. Look at Miranda sideways in 4A.
Little mistake there. He's going to give all that ground back. However, he is a lot faster through this portion of the racetrack. He can make it back up. He just needs to keep that out. This time by, he's going to give up a lot of ground that he was making up over the course of this run.
And if you're wondering why we're keeping things simple here in this last stage, it's just because in road course racing, like we said, no yellows will fly for on-track incidents, so we will not have a random break in the action. We are going to go green flag racing up until the very end. And because this race was split into thirds, with each stage being 30 laps, including this final one to the checkered flag, fuel is not really a concern. You can save fuel under the stage 2 break when you visit pit road, and unless there's a big mistake or you pick up some damage that really adversely affects the race car, but you aren't going to pit. You're going to run these laps up until 90 and the checkered flag. So it seems to be just a simple race of managing distance, managing your mistakes and limiting them, and of course passing whatever cars you can on the racetrack, which is the mission for Steven Stepien, trying to lurk onwards to 7th place up the hill in 2, moving to the pair of corners in 3 and 3A. Stepien wanting to set up this pass.
He's been trying here for about 5 laps, and he did have enough there to get the bumper on the 31, but through this part of the racetrack, Looks like Colin Forrester is just a little bit quicker. It's actually through the hairpin that the 88 makes up the most. If he can get around the 31, then he can play defense. It won't much matter on this portion of the racetrack, but yeah, he's definitely cutting through these S's a little bit more aggressive than Forrester, has about 13-second gap up here to Ross Harlow. That's a pretty big difference.
It looked like he missed the corner slightly in turn 8, moving to turn 8A, and you got to really be pinpoint accurate with the placement of your race car in the S's, but down that little dip, you can start to hop on the brakes. Forrester is way off the mark, and here comes Stepien down low. That's a textbook pass into hairpin, missed opportunity by Forrester, and that's an opportunity seized by Stepien. He's up to 7th place and now searching for Ross Harlow territory, which is about maybe a second and 7/10, actually about 14 seconds up the road. It's a long way up to Ross Harlow. Next up as Mario Miranda chases down Joe Sanchez. He got loose around this part of the track the last time by, peeking his nose and just presenting himself there, giving the warning shot.
He's back now. No mistakes. Gonna set up this pass possibly in the hairpin on Sanchez. He's putting the pressure on, and now that's caused Sanchez to kind of be more aggressive through the S's. Curtis Kelly, Austin Reedy, 2nd through 5th, right on top of each other.
This still being decided. Wyatt Brackett and Alex Muscarella, they go door to door for 9th, and look on the inside, there is Kelly making way for Joe Sanchez. He whipped the car loose out of turn 11 and almost slapstick the right side of the left side rather of Sanchez's Chevrolet Camaro. He's still there, he backs out, they hop on the brakes up the hill, and this is where Miranda has to tiptoe around this traffic. He looks underneath Sanchez, and 55 is going to give him space, and we're side by side now for 4th.
He didn't give him much space, though. Did cut him short there a little bit, and Miranda is going to fall back in line, try to size it up again. This all goes back to that hairpin where the 55 kind of locked it up, but then got to the inside off of that move. And Kelly played a good job there through 1 and 2 to get back single file. That's what you have to do up that hill. Don't want to see a lot of side-by-side on those crests.
And as long as you can force Sanchez wide if you're Miranda in 4A, you can get a run through the S's. That's what he aims to do in that Victory Fuel red and white Toyota Camry, but to no avail, no success. Although Sanchez does wash up a bit through turn 9, here through turn 10, that's where Miranda can start to pounce. Look on the onboard look from the Camry and the Tulsa, Oklahoma driver. You can see the rest of the traffic slowly getting away from him. But nonetheless, top 5 still in the books as Ross Harlow is actually caught up to this group. So, you know, making a trio here for position.
And Harlow was one of the first cars that Miranda worked back on, and you have up the hill, Reedy starting to pull away a little bit, so they've spread back out. We got some lap traffic here to contend with. That's the 16 of Garrett Brown. He is in 18th position, 8 laps down. Heavy damage on the front end of the Nesquik Ford. But here we go. This could check Reedy up a little bit. That will allow Curtis Kelly back to the rear bumper, and just navigating one at a time. You have to be a little bit more patient with single cars, but here he goes out wide to let them all go, and the clean move there.
The lap car's mission is to stay predictable through all of these corners, but when you don't have a lot of runoff, specifically in the first set of S's, turns 2 through 3A, and then here, when you get off of turn 7 and you move to turn 10, it becomes just almost impossible to move out of the way unless you're so slow and you're off the racing line and you're basically in the sand, which none of the lap cars really want to have happen to them. That could potentially cause further issues down the road, not only between themselves, but with the drivers on track if somebody gets out of control and causes a massive pileup. But you got to be so careful moving around lap traffic at that part of the racetrack. It gets narrow, and hence why you saw Reedy back up as much as he did. Last thing he wanted to do was send Brown up the hill and into a tire barrier. You want to keep that respect, even with the lap cars, as they're trudging around Garrett Brown, just wanting to get any points that's available for him. He sits 18th, and he could gain a spot here soon because we did not bring the news to you, but we will now. Jonathan Cofield, who had his best race up until now, has disconnected. So Jonathan Cofield is out of this race, and the struggles continue for car 58.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I was going through to find the last car in the lead lap. That will be Chris Progar in 15th, and with Cofield DNFing or disconnecting, whatever happened to the 58 here. Garrett Brown is 8 laps down. He stands to make that up, and he'll gain a spot up to 17th. But there's still a few cars out here that are on pit road. Brad Fulham, who's just kind of parked it for the day. He's still in the race technically, but not back out there. Chuck Phelps in 30th position. He kind of did a start and park. He's 71 laps down, but you know, you saw those early exits. Some of these guys that have been kind of like on pit road for an eternity, if they came back out here, they stand to gain a lot of spots if they had done that earlier.
You're right, but attrition really reigns as king at these road courses because mistakes matter a lot more on these types of tracks than they do on the ovals. And of course, the skill gap is way wider between this type of racing versus the oval side, because you know, a lot of NASCAR drivers on the sim, a lot of them, surprisingly enough, don't like racing road courses. They don't like to spend their time racing road courses. Even on other parts of the sim, whether it be through open wheel or GT racing, they don't partake in these road course races often. So the weeks that they do come about on the NASCAR schedule, they don't have a lot of fun. Not to say that they can't get good finishes off of it, but they already have that idea of, oh, I don't really like road courses going into it. So you have a lot more attrition. You have a lot more drivers, you know, like a Zach Wilson saying, yeah, I've had enough. I don't mind making this my worst race of the season. I'll just focus on the rest of the campaign that's morely focused on the oval side of things and just move on from there. Here is Wyatt Brackett searching for 8th place. Alex Muscarella, the onboard look from the Lowe's Chevrolet Camaro. And this is just outside of 10 to go through the S's.
Muscarella, just phenomenal job here on the recovery. He was back in 18th, 19th position there in stage 2 and now finds himself hunting a top 10 finish. Wyatt Brackett, even if he gets around, it'll still be a top 10 day for the 48 team. They are 35 seconds, though, out of this lead. Look to the outside, a lock up there by the 30 of Brackett. Overshoots, but still enough for maybe a crossover move. No, he's going to go back single file. These guys back and forth. There's battles all over this racetrack, but I'm telling you right now, the closest thing going on is between Curtis Kelly, Austin Reedy, Joe Sanchez. This 2nd through 5th position, they have not let up. We're approaching pin to go. When does Miranda finally decide, I got to get around him?
I don't know. He has to really get around them all in one corner, and turn 11 might be it, because they really start to stack up around that part of the racetrack. And Miranda is noticeably faster. It's just his lap times aren't reflecting it, just because he's having to whoa up for the traffic right in front of him, and the time is running out. Only 10 laps to go for Miranda to snag away what will be P2. He may not be able to catch up to Lawson Peel because the gap sits at about 13 seconds between Peel and everyone else. But look at this, turn 11 entry. Kelly cooked it up a little bit. Sanchez followed suit for a moment, but Miranda has no space to maneuver around these guys. Has to stay in line, and as long as this happens, I think the smiles are all around for Austin Reedy and Curtis Kelly, because yes, the pressure is there, but every lap, no moves yet.
Sometimes that bumper becomes the move, and do you wait till the last turn on the last lap? Miranda's probably not going to get all 3 of them, but he could get Sanchez here. A little loose there off the crest, and the 55 is going to swap positions. This is the first time we've seen it change since about the start of the stage number 3. Now 3 wide into turn 7. How's this going to work out?
This is sketchy. Kelly down low, holds on, and Miranda stays side by side with Sanchez, who bobbled at the exit of the corner, turn 7A, and there's 1 for Mario Miranda. Now he's got to get 2 more. He's up to 4th place with about 9 laps remaining from Sonoma Raceway. And the onboard look from Kelly is there's the fellow Camry right behind him. And this would make Mario Miranda, at this point, the only race team Toyota Camry that's still competitive in this race. James Kunkel's not here. Casey Neiden has fallen all the way back to 16th. Isaac Mock isn't here either. So Miranda is one of the lone standing forces of race team left, and he got near Curtis Kelly enough to make that 71 shake, but not enough to get around.
And that's probably going to be the recipe to get around Kelly. You saw the last time he made a little mistake there, and that actually shuffled Sanchez out of the line and got Miranda around. So now if I'm the 99, I see that weakness there, especially on this crest right here is where he last time got loose. And then it's in the hairpin. He could probably put it on the pressure there as well. I think the 99 knows what he's doing here. He's been really patient, but we're coming down 8 laps to go when Lawson Peel crosses the stripe. Through the S's, 99, he's going to have to get by very soon.
And as each lap winds down, we talk about desperation. More desperate moves will come out of this 99 car searching for 3rd place. And what a win today it will be for Fast Banana overall. Wyatt Brackett, we know, is back in 9th, Colin Forrester in 10th. And you just look at Austin Reedy and Curtis Kelly, what they've been able to do over this night. There's Miranda down low, turn 11. That's his marker. Kelly hangs on. We're still door to door.
He's got the preferred line through turn 12. He will hold on to it, but now up the hill. Miranda, one of the few people that's willing to take it into turns 2 and 3 on the inside. Here we go up the hill.
And he turns Kelly up the hill in turn 2. There's the breaking point and the slight contact. Ross Harlow gets into the 71 and a big time hit as Kelly was rejoining the racing surface. That is a dagger of the ages for Curtis Kelly and for Harlow. And it's the same place where Peel and Miranda also tangled earlier in the race. Oh.
Onboard look here with Harlow real quick while we got a second. I mean, you don't see it coming until you're there.
And he overshot that corner too, so he was in that trajectory to get into Kelly as that 71 was merging back to the racetrack and just getting himself back into rhythm. Harlow giving him the slam, and they don't lose all that much track position-wise because of how much distance they put up to everyone else. But still, a top 3 getting stolen away by the contact. We know race control might also view that too and monitor whether that was a racing incident or at the fault of Miranda. We'll keep an eye on that post-race, and there's only one left to beat now. Austin Reedy with 6 laps to go, while Lawson Peel enjoys a 15.5-second gap.
And it's continuing to grow here. Peel still in the 115s, where the rest of this field is mostly running a 116 or higher. Not seeing anybody out here on this field that's going to contest the 12 and what he's put together here on this final stint, the final stage of this race. Again, I went back and I said, how many times tonight? Kenneth, it was just, what are they doing? Why are they coming down? It was track position, and you knew that Peel had the speed to win this race. Fortunately, with the contact with Miranda and all the things that have happened, he never got put behind the 8 ball, and he's been able to get back to the lead and run away with it.
You know, at one point in this race, Bradley, I think you and I coincidentally had the mindset of, oh no, we might have a new winner again because Lawson Peel and Miranda continue to clash, and as long as they do that, they will ruin their own races, and we may see a new driver like an Austin Reedy get back to victory lane and become the 8th different winner of the season. But it took only one call and a pass on the racetrack in order to settle this one. We know that no cautions are going to fly in the next 5 laps, and Peel is just going to continue to stay in cruise control. The only obstacles he has in front of him are some lap cars down the road, but other than that, that's all he's got. And it all took that one call to hit a little earlier than everyone else while they came down pit road at the stage break. Lawson just passed all of them, staying out behind the pace car, and just reaped the benefit of getting on the track position. And that's all you need here at Sonoma, especially since tire wear hasn't mattered as much as maybe we anticipated. There was Wyatt Brackett defending the wall against Alex Muscarella, and even a bit of Colin Forrester. This 3-car action for 8th place going up the hill.
Brackett gets back around Muscarella. We saw this earlier where Muscarella had gotten around him, so now surge back. Remember, Brackett on that restart for the final stage went up the hill, went off the racetrack. He was running in about the 5th position, so I mean, he's all but recovered that spot. Colin Forrester, also one of the Fast Banana drivers that, you know, when it all fell apart, he was also in that boat of, you know, the ship's sinking, but they've found a paddle and they've brought it back.
And working through the Sea of Sonoma, which is all dry, but it's been a lot of fun to watch. Muscarella here could capture his 2nd top 10 of the season. Remember, we talked about that 8th place running at Charlotte. or rather at Kansas, than a top 15 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Watch this
Contact.
dive on the brakes. Colin Forrester sending it out of nowhere. Could have sent the 48 to space, but he instead stays on the racetrack. But they have lagged back to Wyatt Brackett, who stays in 7th. But you were mentioning it, Bradley, about we still have a ton of battles on the racetrack. This one, no exception.
Yeah, 7th through 9th up for grabs. Then you have Miranda, who he's caught back up to Austin Reedy after the contact there with, I believe that was Curtis Kelly, and that's spread out a little bit more than it was earlier, but Reedy really wide there through that turn 10, and I think he's starting to feel the pressure from Miranda.
Well, this will be the final battle we will encounter for top 3 finishing position here at Sonoma. Lawson Peel otherwise has this race in the bag, but second place up for grabs. Look from behind from the 96 of Austin Reedy, who has won 2 stages tonight, and now the dive. Miranda sends it up, and Reedy, the crossover attempt, blocked off and negated. Here comes Sanchez down low, and Reedy just found himself the loser on that bet. They anteed up, and he lost all of his cash.
That was a gamble there on that crossover, and it really did set up Sanchez to get around him. Now, if you're Reedy, you're going to have to figure out in 4 laps how you get back around the 55. You could probably get by him. You showed that you were faster, but as of late, Sanchez is starting to kind of match lap times with Miranda, and I've been interested to see if Sanchez maybe has something for the end of this race to get a top 2. Get a second place finish for the 55 after all he's went through today. That would be quite the accomplishment, even a top 3 at that.
Yeah, and you give Sanchez the clean air, and he knows what to do with it. He's setting these 115s when he doesn't have traffic around and slowing him down, and he was chasing Reedy and Miranda. In turn, no pressure as the fuel burns off, so he's able to click down faster lap times. And hey, we know Reedy may be out of this equation for second, but Sanchez is still a viable candidate to make the selection go all the way to the final lap. 3 laps to go from Sonoma. It is now 17.5 seconds between Lawson Peel and now the second place runner in Mario Miranda, and the storyline stays the same once more. We know that since the series has moved to the next gen cars, Lawson and Mario have been the only drivers to win road course races. It appears it will stay the same here. Justin Erb searching for top 10. He looks to get around Alex Muscarella. And how about Shane Wyatt, the rookie, not too far away in the distance.
Wyatt right on top of this battle as well. The battle for 7th and 9th position is migrated back to 9th through 11th. And Muscarella had a little struggle there. He has lost Colin Forrester now by about 3 seconds. Wyatt Brackett is pulled away. There's another 3-second gap, and then just a huge, massive gap. Steve Stympian all by himself out here in 6th spot. So the top 10 has some battles around here and there, but it has since calmed down tremendously with 2 laps to go.
And we have more news to break on the GNF list. They have just added a new one, and the name is Ross Harlow, the 3-car after the ding to Curtis Kelly as he was rejoining the track at the exit of turn 2, has called this race over from Sonoma, and that will break the top 10 streak that he was looking to keep going. It will eliminate the streak of top 5s that sat at 2 from the finishes at Kansas and Charlotte. And up until now, this will be his 2nd worst finish of the season after coming home 23rd at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in race 2. So tough news for Ross Harlow tonight.
We just keep adding to that list, and I mean, it hasn't been kind to a lot of great drivers. And Harlow, of course, was looking at the top 10. He was probably on track for a top 5 possibly. And after that little ding there with Curtis Kelly coming back out on the racetrack, Kelly's still out there, but I'm curious to know, did Harlow get enough damage that that engine just gave up?
I mean, it was a square hit to the left front, so I'd imagine, yeah, Bradley, there was either so much aerodynamic damage that it made him so slow throughout the racetrack, or maybe some tolling damage too, engine damage. You could attribute it to a lot of things on this next-gen race car with the new damage model, and it really bodes you tough news. And Ross Harlow, unfortunately, will add to the list of DNFs tonight. That makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cars that have pulled it behind the garage. The attrition at an all-time high from Sonoma Raceway. But the storyline remains similar regardless of the extracurricular activities. We know that Lawson and Mario had a ton of contact earlier in this race, and while Miranda had a tough time getting through traffic, Lawson has in turn been able to turn this race around to be in the lead and to dominate the last sector of this race. We have had 7 different winners over this 2024 season. Lawson will be the first driver to say it won't continue past this point. Into turn 11 for the final time, Lawson Peel will get his 2nd straight win at the Sonoma Raceway and 2nd straight in 2024. Bring on victory lane. Peel the winner in wine country.
Battle concedes back here. Miranda's going to lock up 2nd after restarting this final stage in 14th spot. Comes home just ahead of Joe Sanchez, who's going to get 3rd spot. Austin Reedy, solid day with 2 stage wins, a top 5. He'll get 4th. Curtis Kelly across. You know, that's a shame, though. He had a top 3 possible. Steve Stympian just now coming across the line. This is kind of the no man's land we talked about. The top 10, though, still kind of tight back here. Colin Forrester, Wyatt Brackett across the line, teammates here. And what a race, though. And you kind of throw the attrition in there, but nonetheless, some of these guys that maybe don't like road courses, they got pretty solid days.
Well, those who stayed on track were able to get the best finishes. Fast Banana Racing gets all 4 of their Camrys inside the top 10. Eddie Smith, man that we haven't talked about much throughout the night, finishes in 11th for staying on track. And everyone else crossing the start-finish line. But, of course, the eyes on Lawson Peel, who becomes the first driver since himself to go 2 in a row in the Sunoco Cup Series. He did it last season with Watkins Glen and Daytona. And he's just having fun now. He hops the curves there through what it was the IndyCar section of Sonoma Raceway. He is drifting it all over the place, but for good reason. Lawson wins his 2nd race win of the year, and all-time ties now with Mario Miranda at 19. I had to do some revisions over the last several weeks to get all the stats completed, but the burnout happens here at the exit of turn 11, and Lawson Peel brings you tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. And for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. While the celebrations continue, we'll take a break and have post-race coverage on the other side. You're tuned in to Race 8 of the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series season, live on VSPEED.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
need an F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Back at Sonoma, the wine has been held out to the top three, and it's a hefty drink for Lawson Peel, who will taste the victory here from Sonoma as we bring in the post-race coverage live on VSPEED. We'll take a look at the unofficial race results from California, and for the second straight race, it's Lawson Peel on top with Mario Miranda right behind. These two continue that saga tonight. Joe Sanchez in third place, and Sanchez came into this race third in point standings. This one will mean a lot for driver number 55. Austin Reedy, who swept the stages tonight, falls back to fourth after heavily contending against the likes of Sanchez and Miranda at the end. Curtis Kelly got turned by Mario Miranda in turn 2 in the winning laps. He, though, recovers to a top 5 finish. Steven Stepien in 6th place, Wyatt Brackett 7th, Colin Forrester 8th, and you have to tip your cap off to Fast Banana Racing, getting all 4 of their race cars in the top 10 at race end, with Alex Muscarella behind in 9th and Justin Erb closing out the top 10.
Yeah, well done there by Fast Banana, and especially on that recovery after that last restart for stage 3. 11th spot's going to go to Eddie Smith. He started back in 20th position here today, so a great job by Eddie to come back after that week at Charlotte. And Shane Wyatt's going to end up in 12th position with Brandon Banks in 13th. Chris Progar is the first of the cars a lap down, but a solid day in 14th. Casey Knighton in 15th, and then we start the DNFs here today. Ross Harlow, he was able to stay in 16th, but he will have an early exit. Garrett Brown damage here today in 16th position, or 17th rather. Ray Rogers in 18th. Jonathan Cofield an early exit. It's going to be a solid day for him. Zach Wilson, we saw after the contact and damage, he just decided to take it to the exit, out of the exit of turn 4. But that'll be 20th for the 51.
And we continue the list of those who cut this race short. That includes Alex Huffman, Austin Shoemaker, Richard Swavely back in 23rd. Sean Kalis and Brad Fulham bring us the top 25. And then Justin Winters, Dakota Curtis, Bill Schoonover, Chris Shoemaker, and the 75 of Charles Feltz bringing in the top 30. And everyone else here from the virtual Sonoma Raceway. A lot of drivers out of the race past halfway, and of course that was tough to see, but we know that they'll try to recover when we get to our next race of the campaign in the Music City at Nashville Superspeedway. We head to Sonoma Victory Lane, where tasting the virtual wine is Lawson Peel, and this time he tastes victory for just the second time this season and 19th in your career. Lawson, it's safe to say this race was dominating for sure, but it didn't seem that way for the first half. You led a bunch of laps. You and Miranda got into it. Talk to us about that, all of the drama, and then the strategy call to stay out at the stage break by pitting earlier and just basically putting on a clinic at the end.
Yeah, you ain't never seen us get into anything like that before, have you, Kenneth?
I don't think it's been close to that, but I don't know if it was ever at that level.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, obviously the initial start of the race and going on the green flag, it's really not much of a advantage, I guess, which side you start on. And kind of knew that if he stayed beside me going up through there, it was just going to shake out how it was going to shake out. But I could have raced a little harder for that position, but I didn't. It was early in the race. And yeah, obviously he was trying to do everything he could to keep me behind him. And it's just impossible, or it's not impossible. It's just really hard to pass here. And especially when you're that, close on speed and everything. If you don't really have much of a discernible advantage over somebody, it's just really hard to pass. And so I tried to pass cleanly for a while and felt like I got run off the track a couple times. And then we had an incident with a lap car where that kind of checked him up, and I got run off the track again. And and then I kind of overdrove the next corner, but we talked about it a little bit right then, and things happen in heat of the moment and stuff. So, and then obviously that next restart happened, which thankfully didn't kill me too bad. So I kind of saw it coming and just went ahead and started slowing down. But yeah, once I was able to get out front and get in the rhythm, that's just kind of what it hinges on for me. I just can't really get into a very good rhythm when I'm behind people, So It's all just a rhythm based feel for me. I'm not very good on the first lap or two, and I had a league race in FTF here a week or so ago. It was about a 60 lap race that helped me out, just kind of finding that rhythm. So was able to carry that into tonight, and really happy with the performance.
This is your 6th road course race win in the Sunoco Cup Series as far as your career is concerned. So I think anyone can make the case that you are one of those road ringers. And we were talking about the stat that in the next gen era, the only drivers that have won road course races have been you and Mario Miranda. So there hasn't been a wide spread of drivers that have visited victory lane. What about your qualities of road course racing helps you be this fast and this dominant, especially in a field that, we know it's usually hard to win at based on the parity?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know how this happened. I mean, in the previous Gen 6 car, I wasn't really that great on road courses. I mean, I can remember racing against Mario 3 or 4 years ago and just not being anywhere close to where he was in that Gen 6 car. And it was a struggle when everything kind of switched over to this car in 2022, but I just kind of found it one week at Coda. It's just a different way. You kind of have to slide your front tires in this thing and point the car and accelerate a certain way. And once I kind of figured it out, and for some reason have just been able to improve on that. And like I said, it's all just rhythm based for me. I'm not, a great qualifier, I don't feel like, or really good at just going right out there and setting the pace right away. It takes me 3 or 4 laps to get into a rhythm, but once I kind of just start repeating the same lap, I just I think I'm just good at just zoning in and just finding those subtle improvements in places and just getting so immersed into that rhythm that it's hard to make a mistake because you're just kind of so locked in. So when I can get in that space, that's when I do well on the road courses. And I don't really know kind of where that came from. It just did. But because on the ovals it's the same way. I really want to get like into a rhythm on a long run. So I think it just kind of translates from that.
And to toss off of the point of parity, we had 7 different winners, including yourself, when Charlotte came around in early June. 2 weeks later, you break that streak and you become the first driver since yourself to go 2 in a row throughout a Sunoco Cup Series season. How much does that mean to you to be able to get your 2nd win in a row this year? And are you now the king of summer? Can we call you that? I know it's pretty early on in June, but could we call this the hot streak for you late in the regular season?
I don't know. After just the abysmal race I had at Kansas, 2 races before this, it definitely feels good to bounce back the next 2 this way, because Kansas is just that, was one that I had circled. I really wanted to do well at, and it was just a really, really bad race. So, it feels good to bounce back, and it feels good to get hot now, but obviously you don't want to peak too early. I want to, peak at the right time later on. So, kind of all about momentum, and that's what racing's about. Just when sometimes you're kind of on top and doing really well, or just down in the depths, and there's really no in between. So just want to have the momentum and peak at the right time. But it feels good. So hopefully we can keep it up.
Well, it's 2 in a row. We maybe 3 once we get to Nashville Super Speedway in several weeks' time. Although I'm sure Steven Stepien might give you a solid fight because he's pretty good at that track. But nonetheless, Lawson, before we send you out of here, anybody in particular you want to give the shout outs to? Yeah,
thanks for Sunoco for sponsoring the league, and Dakota, Dustin, and all the everybody that helps them out on the admin team. Thanks to you guys, VSPEED, for doing the broadcast, Kenneth, and thanks to all my Drinking Bros teammates, Paul's Setup Shop, and everybody that watched tonight. And see you guys next, I guess, probably in 2 weeks.
Well, much love as always, Lawson. It's always great to talk to you, and it just feels like history repeats itself. You led 50 of the 70 laps. On our last trip to Sonoma, you lead 51 tonight en route to your 2nd race victory of the season.
Am I back on top on that league total wins stat now, Kenneth?
You're tied now. Actually, I thought everyone was at 20. I thought you and Mario were at 20. I did some revisions today. Turns out you both now are at 19 with today's win.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. So I got to get one more.
One more to be the top of the board there. But Lawson, we always appreciate the time. Congratulations on your 2nd race victory of the year, and looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at Nashville Super Speedway.
Thanks, Kenneth. We'll see you, man.
That's Lawson Peel, the man on top here from Sonoma, California. And with that, we turn to his main adversary for most of the night, Mario Miranda, who's caught up with our very own Bradley Cooper.
Down here with Mario Miranda, and we gotta unpack some stuff here. I know you guys talked briefly there in the post race. There was a lot going on in the first two stages, and maybe some eye for an eye. But Mario, coming in here that you're fast, and we talked to Lawson. Was it just a matter of you guys were just on such a level playing field that maybe some other things got in the way?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just like to just forget about tonight. It's not how I won the race. It's not how I wanted to be raced. Especially that second half of the race. I just felt like I ruined a lot of people's races trying to get hold of what I could after what happened. But it's the character I portray. It's who I am, I guess. So I don't want to race like that. And I don't want to be raced like that. And I don't know what happened in the carousel there when I got spun by Lawson. And what happened in the start of stage 2 on that stage 2 restart wasn't intentional. Just I tried to make that move that I'd done twice earlier in the race, and I just didn't take into account cold tires and cold brakes, and absolutely misjudged it, and it ruined my race. And luckily, Lawson didn't get any damage from it. But yeah, just a race and forget kind of night.
And we also saw a lot of moves, especially on that uphill. You were one of the few drivers that was willing to take it to the inside. And, with some drivers and some reviews, it might look like aggressive driving. But in your opinion, is that just how good you are here at Sonoma that you're willing to take some passes at places that most drivers wouldn't even consider it?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's just I do road racing in real life, and I'm trying to get back to it at some point. Hopefully big plans in the future. But I think my road racing etiquette is a lot better than the other guys. So I know that that turn 2 up the hill, that right-hander, you can easily make a pass there if you're comfortable with the car. And some guys know that, and when you get to their inside, they don't push the issue. They know you have the corner, and other guys don't know that, and that's not any fault of their own. I just gotta have to be smarter with my passes when it comes to that. And like with Curtis Kelly, I ruined his race doing that. He probably deserved the podium. Yeah, he definitely deserved the podium. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think that my racecraft's a little bit better, but you really have to pick and choose. And even if you are better, doesn't mean you have the right to the race the way I did. So.
Well, outside of that, Mario, I know coming back up to second position was felt like you probably passed 1,000 cars here tonight. And one last question for you. You had the speed, you've had run-ins with the 12. Have we seen the end of the fireworks here after Sonoma?
I hope so. I'm really still confused on why Lawson did what he did. He's usually smarter than that, and I'm still kind of upset why he just didn't turn and just straight up turned me like that. And in years past, I've been banned for races, several races for incidents less than that. So I don't see him getting banned for it though, just because what happened. I'm not sure. I hope it's the end of it. I don't attend the race Lawson like that, but sometimes what my version of racing is too much for some people, and they want to retaliate, and it just becomes a back and forth until someone's race is over. So I really do hope it's over because I just want to finish out the year.
Well, Mario, we appreciate your time. Anybody that you'd like to shout out real quick before we let you go?
Yeah, I just want to shout out Victory Fuel being on the car again. Try to run the red car tonight, not the yellow one. Just with the Wine Valley, I thought the red would bring me good luck. Also, the guys at Twisted Tech and Podium Esports, they've been with me for almost 2 years now. So I really appreciate those guys. And then also Team Watson Racing Setups. Those guys keep me on track. They keep me fast. They keep me level-headed. So a big shout out to them.
I appreciate it. Mario Miranda, second place here tonight after recovering from 14th on that last stage. And you'll help tremendous in the points. I know with Reedy a little bit ahead of you here, you're able to best him on the finishing position, and that top 3 will help going into next week.
Thank you, guys.
And finally, that brings us down to our third place finisher, and a guy that, you know, he was kind of quiet all day long, but Kenneth, he comes home on the podium. Here it is, Joe Sanchez.
You might categorize him as the dark horse in the sea of Mario Miranda's and Lawson Peels. But Joe, you were fast all night long. It seemed like this Paul setup shop car was ripping it across Sonoma. Walk us through what your night was like and how it was driving this car around the track for 90 laps. I know it was a long one.
Yeah, it was a tiring one. Definitely don't want to have to do one of those pretty soon, but wasn't sure how I was gonna race too well here, just because I haven't raced a road course with these cars since I think Coda of last year. So, pretty happy. Sonoma's one of my better road courses, but not taking tires there at the end really was the right move, and it just allowed me to go a lot harder on the initial start there and try to pick off some spots. I do want to apologize to Wyatt Brackett there for getting into him at the top of the hill. Looked very similar to the SVG and Austin Hill kind of scenario, but definitely did not mean to touch him there. But yeah, happy with a third place finish. I know a good points day with Lawson winning. You know, me third, and I think Brandon still got a top 15. So very good points day for DBR. Wish Kip could make it, but I think he's out on vacation here. But you know, from start to finish, a long race, but happy with the result.
And you found yourself in a pretty fun scenario. I guess fun for us, maybe not as fun behind the wheel, but you were in a quintuplet, if you will, between yourself, Miranda, Austin, Curtis, and you know, you were just in the middle of all of that and either trying to pass or defending for a position. What was the difficulty in that sense, trying to do both at the same time, and also just wanting to keep your car on track, knowing that, you know, there are mistakes that could happen from those around you?
Yeah, I was really actually trying to force Curtis Kelly there into a mistake, and he stood strong that whole last run, not really overstepping his grounds. But it was just so hard to pass. The dirty air is definitely real on these cars here, and I think just all the cars around us, we were just good enough through, you know, turn 4 and turn 10 there to basically not allow someone to set up a pass. I think we were all pretty much the same speed through there, so it kind of just caused a freight train. But yeah, I was I'm not sure if the 99 had some damage, but I was actually really shocked to be able to, you know, either keep him behind me for quite a while, or at the end I really think I was a little bit faster than those guys. Just really couldn't build up a run there at the end, and didn't want to overstep it and ruin a good day.
Well, it's a top 3 finish for you here, and we know that you entered this race third in the point standings. I'm sure that certainly the points will continue to balloon, and you're searching for your second win of the year, but it's looking really good for you right now as we dive into the heart of this Sunoco Cup Series regular season. One more note before we ask you to give shout-outs. A big congratulations to you on the engagement. We heard about the news several weeks ago, and we're just really happy for you, man. A big congratulations to you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to you guys for putting on probably one of the best iRacing broadcasts we have. And then all of our league admins, and then all of the entire Drinking Bros, and then finally put Paul's setup shop on the car today and got him a good finish.
Well, it's all love from our side, Joe. On behalf of all of us here at VSPEED, congratulations on the podium finish, and looking forward to seeing you try to get win number 2 of the season at Nashville Super Speedway in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Joe Sanchez in the 55 closes out our top 3 of the night from the first road course race of the season. Bradley, before we step away and get our thoughts on what's to come in this Sunoco Cup Series regular season, your parting thoughts from Sonoma.
Well, I think the relationships have strengthened or done the exact opposite. There's a lot going on here as the points balloon, as you called it, and these guys are starting to tighten up here in the top 16, where you're gonna have some pretty much some playoff guarantees before the end of this thing. You've got our first multi-time winner with Lawson Peel, who's definitely going to make it into that top 16, and then 7 different winners across the whole thing. Sonoma was one of those tracks that we knew Peel and Miranda were going to be good, but then you had that kind of sneak away and a big points bonus for Austin Reedy. That's the one that stands out to me the most, is we let the points leader get 2 stages here tonight, and he's going to extend that lead going into next week.
Well, in case of what is to come in the next 2 weeks, while we have Lawson Peel winning this one, we might have another new winner come Nashville Super Speedway. We head to the Music City and not that far away in Lebanon, Tennessee for our first trip to Nashville. That comes your way June 30th, Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Of course, we will have all of the coverage live right here on the VSPEED YouTube channel with myself alongside Bradley Cooper. We're excited for this one. We're back to the ovals in race 9 of the regular season. We inch further towards the run towards the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs that begin at Atlanta in early September. So you won't want to miss it. Once again, June 30th, that's race 9 at 8 p.m. Eastern, live on VSPEED. My parting words from this race at Sonoma is that there's magic in parity. There is certainly an essence of magic when you see a bunch of different drivers being able to have their special moment broadcasted live and displayed to everyone. They love to have different winners. Series love to have different drivers going to the top step of the podium. But I'd argue that there's also magic in watching domination. There's magic in watching a driver and another just going toe to toe. That's what we're seeing, and that's what we have been seeing over the last several weeks with the likes of Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda. It's not often you see 2 Titans go toe-to-toe, back and forth throughout race weekends, but we have the pleasure of covering that here in the Sunoco Cup Series. Right now, it's Lawson Peel who's still chasing to gain that moniker of Sunoco Cup Series all-time best driver ever. That leaves us here at Sonoma Raceway. We're off to Nashville in 2 weeks' time for Dakota Curtis and the admin team at the Sunoco Cup Series, for Adam Baker for all of his behind-the-scenes work at VSPEED, and for our producer/colleague in the booth today, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series. From Sonoma, off to Nashville we go in 2 weeks' time.